The Knights of the Zodiac shine and marvel. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 151, Meeting an Old Friend Again. When he found out that the man might be the Mandarin, Lazai was a little excited. The scene of the Mandarin suddenly appearing in the small building that Lazai rented last time was still fresh in Lazai's memory. That was his first close contact with Black Widow, and even sensitive words were blocked later. Of course, it would be better if the scene only stayed at the state where Black Widow could have everything in the world, but it was just an illusion, and the contact between Lazai and the Mandarin later was very unfriendly. If it weren't for the timely appearance of the little lion Regulus at the end, and the lightning speed punch that turned the Mandarin into a gray wolf, I'm afraid Lazai would have knelt at that time. Since then, Lazai has secretly vowed that if he meets the Mandarin again, he must beat him up and make him look good. But he didn't expect to meet him unexpectedly in China. It's true that life is full of encounters. His strength has been improved, and he has learned more skills, and has an upgraded version of the giant Lord Cloth. Lazai is very proud of himself. Mandarin, we finally meet again. I am no longer the same person as before. Are you ready? Lazai moved forward with expectation, but suddenly found that the man was not Mandarin. Compared with Mandarin's popular Uncle Winner's dress, the man with the ring had a too ferocious expression, and his clothes were somewhat sporty, which was completely different from Mandarin's style. If we talk about his dressing style, he is more like another person, Shanghai, Zheng Shanghai. However, the face with bulging veins, eyebrows erected, murderous face, and eyes staring as if about to explode is completely different from Zheng Shanghai's gentle and elegant appearance. He looks more like Nifeng, who has been possessed by the devil, possessed by a demon. Could it be? Turning to the front of the man, Lazai's heart skipped a beat. Although the man's expression was so ferocious that he was almost unrecognizable, Lazai still roughly recognized his identity from his outline. He was Zheng Shanghai, who had disappeared since they parted in L.A. But for some reason, his expression was so ferocious that it almost disfigured him. When in the United States, Lazai later went to Lawang's Chinese medicine hall to look for Zheng Shanghai, but was told that Zheng Shanghai had left the Twisting Waist shop a few days ago and his whereabouts were unknown. Not only that, he didn't even see Lawang. He just heard from the people inside that Lawang had a car accident abroad and had returned to China to rest after the operation. Even the Chinese medicine hall was sold out. This made it impossible for Lazai to find anyone to inquire about the news. The new boss was not easy to talk to, so Lazai did not continue to ask more questions and could only leave with doubts. I really didn't expect to meet Zheng Shanghai again here, and what I didn't expect was that Zheng Shanghai would become what he is now. It seemed that he was controlled by the ring again, and this time he was more deeply trapped than the last time he attacked Tony Stark in L.A. Over there, General Lao Li also got angry and slammed the table to call the 2nd Battalion commander. Zheng Xian called him in time. There was no need to waste so many weapons and ammunition to deal with such a person with extraordinary power. It was better to leave it to professionals. Lao Li disagreed at first, but Wan Zongxia had already rushed in during the interval of firing. In order to avoid accidental injury, he had to give up and complained to the intercom that Zheng Xian came too fast. Zheng Xian smiled and didn't argue with him. There was nothing to argue about. On the battlefield, Wan Zongxia had already fought with Zheng Shanghai. It was the first time Lazai saw Wan Zongxia take action. In the past, looking at his face, he thought he was just a reckless man with heavy punches. But after watching their fight, Lazai found out that he was wrong. This seemingly stupid and sturdy man's movements were not clumsy at all, but rather agile. Compared with the demonized Shanghai, his strength and speed were not weaker at all, but stronger. This really shocked Lazai. Who is Shanghai? He is a kung fu master based on Bruce Lee. He was suppressed by an unknown Wan Zongxia. Is there still a king's law? Is there still law? However, as the two fought, the situation began to reverse. Although Wan Zongxia was slightly stronger in strength and speed, his skills were slightly worse. In addition, Zheng Shankai had another ice ring in his hand in addition to the vortex ring, which was the one he used in LA. When Zheng Shankai began to release the power of the ring, the balance between the two was broken, and Wan Zhongxia became the passive party. Zia cracked his knuckles. Finally, it's my turn to make an appearance. Shankai actually dared to break into the camp alone. Isn't he afraid of being drowned in? Wait a minute. Zia paused. If I were the Mandarin, would I let Zheng Shankai attack the camp alone? Even if ordinary weapons can't do much damage to him, there is still the Denshai Mansion in Longyu Mountain in the Celestial Empire. The Mandarin has lived for more than 90 years. It is impossible for him not to know the existence of the Denshai Mansion, and it is impossible for him not to know the relationship between the Denshai Mansion and the government. So, Zheng Shankai should not be alone. There must be helpers lurking nearby. That person is very likely the Mandarin. Zheng Xian's voice came from the wireless headset in his ear. Now Zian, Old Tao may not be able to hold on any longer. You should act according to the situation. You must take down the invader, preferably alive. Wait a minute, Brother Xian. Captain Tao won't fail so easily. If I act rashly, he might be unhappy. Zia interrupted. And have the people from Jialong arrived? Let their ace sniper find an opportunity to contain him. I have a suspicion. After expressing his doubts, Zia's men had already risen to the sky, and the perception of the microcosm began to spread out in all directions. I will use my ability to try to sense the surroundings. We can't let that guy become a yellow bird behind the mantis. Zheng Xian agreed with Zia's idea. Okay. Then let Captain Tao hold on for a while. I will notify Jialong right now. You go ahead and do it. You must find all the invaders. We can't let them do things so recklessly again. In the sky, Zia's microcosm perception spread out along the ground to the distance like a radar. Xiang has almost imprinted all his life's learning in Zia's mind. In addition to the crystal wall used that day, his telekinesis has also been enhanced to a certain extent. Not only can he use instant teleportation like Gigui, but he can also use telekinesis to sense nearby microcosms, high-energy objects. In the carpet search of telekinesis, there is no such thing as a blind spot. Even hundreds of meters underground can be sensed by Zia's microcosm, but after the telekinesis spread out more than 10 kilometers, Zia did not find any high-energy reaction. Did I guess wrong? Zia shook her head. It shouldn't be the case. Mandarin wouldn't think that Zheng Shankai could break into the military camp and take away the egg box with 2 rings and a pair of wristbands that can change the trajectory of bullets. Then what is he thinking? Ding! A white light cut through the darkness. Could it be? Brother Xian, Zia shouted loudly into the microphone. Where is the nearest base? Contact them immediately to see if there are any other places attacked. The invader's purpose is likely not here. 18-year-old department-level cadres will also be blocked. Okay, we don't need to discuss this topic. Thank you Liu Shao 2015 Yi Zibo Tao Mike Growl for your rewards. Thank you all for your support. Chapter 152. Massive Invasion. Sensitive information like nuclear bomb bases should not be asked by someone of Zia's status, and even Zheng Xian may not know everything. However, there is no airtight wall in this world. As long as someone knows, the news may leak out. With the power of Mandarin, it is not impossible to find out the exact storage location. The moment Zheng Xian heard Zia's words, he knew that they might have been tricked. This was probably the enemy's strategy to lure the tiger away from the mountain. The 2 previous military camps were breached, and the enemy returned without success. Moreover, there was no loss of weapons and ammunition in the military camps, and the casualties were not serious. So today, after hearing that the 3rd military camp was attacked and confirming that there was no nuclear bomb inside, although Zheng Xian immediately brought people to reinforce, he still had some luck in his heart. In his opinion, this attack must be another futile invasion, and the invaders would definitely not be able to escape unscathed under the double attack of Wan Zhongxia and Zia. But Zia's judgment made Zheng Xian's heart tense all of a sudden. He quickly told the people around him to contact the outside world, and the information came back quickly. Not only this military camp, but also A county a few hundred kilometers away, B county in another direction, and C county near another point in the triangle with them were invaded by unknown forces at the same time. and V City near C County was where Zheng Xian knew a nuclear bomb was stored. The garrison troops in V City have not issued any news of attack, and the data shows that everything is normal. Zheng Xian frowned. Did the garrison troops in V City send reinforcements to County C? No. After County C was attacked, the garrison troops in V City contracted their defenses to prevent being tricked into leaving the mountain area. In addition, with the presence of people from the Tanshai mansion in Longnu Mountain, even if the enemy really attacks there, it will be difficult to break through their defenses. Zheng Xian told Lazai about the situation. Satellite and intelligence show that the garrisons in the other 3 counties are less vulnerable to attacks than here, and they are confident that they can repel the invading enemies. Although V City has goods, its defenses are not comparable to those of the garrisons in these counties. Even if there are more attacks like the one below, they can't break through. Lazai is not as optimistic as Zheng Xian. Mandarin has been running the business for so long, not to mention that he has a huge force under his command. If he goes all out, his destructive power will probably be more than 5 times that of Zheng Shanghai. Which direction is V City? I'll go check it out. Zheng Xian pointed in a direction to Lazai. You don't have to worry about V City. A cloud of gas explosion suddenly appeared in the distant sky. After a few seconds, a violent gas explosion sounded, and Lazai had already turned into a black light and disappeared into the sky. In the barracks of the V City garrison, an old man wearing a white tang suit, with long gray hair combed back and tied into a ponytail, a slender figure and a ruddy face was sitting at the tea table sipping tea. He was the only one in the huge barracks, but he suddenly picked up a teacup from the side, scalded it with boiling water, and poured a cup of emerald green tea. I don't know who you are. Since you're here, why not come in and have a drink together? As soon as the old man finished speaking, a tall and handsome figure pushed open the door and walked in. Haha, I can't refuse your kindness, so I'll bother you. Just like visiting a friend's house. The man walked to the tea table and sat down, picked up the teacup and put it to his mouth, tasted it and clapped his hands. Good tea, good tea. I haven't had such authentic Mingqian Longjing for a long time, and the brewing method is also very experienced, and such good tea leaves are not wasted. From the moment this man entered the door, the old man who was drinking tea froze, and the expression on his face kept changing. Sometimes surprise, sometimes confusion, and finally turned into deep fear. Why, you seem to know me. The man put down the teacup with a gentle smile on his face. The old man suddenly clasped his fists and saluted. I am Tian Jinzong from Longnu Mountain, and I am honored to meet Senior Chu. I will never forget your life-saving grace. The man who came was Mandarin, who once used the alias Chu. After hearing what Tian Jinzong said, his movements froze. You are the little Taoist priest back then. No wonder you look familiar to me. It has been decades. It is me. Tian Jinzong saluted again. Mandarin waved his hand casually. No need to be so. I saved you back then just by chance. I told you not to take it to heart. Tian Jinzong is over 80 years old this year. About 60 years ago, when he was a young man, he went down the mountain to do business. On his way back, he was ambushed and almost died on the spot. It was Mandarin who passed by and saved him. Although the two have not met again for decades, Mandarin's appearance and demeanor have always been engraved in Tian Jinzong's mind. Moreover, Mandarin was already about 30 years old at that time. After decades, time seems to have stopped on him. His appearance had not changed much from that year, so Tian Jinzong recognized him at a glance. However, the purpose of Mandarin's visit was obviously not to reminisce with Tian Jinzong. Tian Jinzong could guess his purpose. Many military camps had been attacked before. Tian Jinzong knew what he was protecting here and why Mandarin appeared. After Mandarin finished his tea, Tian Jinzong picked up the teapot and refilled it for him. The junior will use tea instead of wine to toast the senior and thank the senior for saving my life again. Mandarin smiled and picked up the teacup, closed his eyes and smelled the tea fragrance, then poured it into his mouth and drank it all. After the teacup was put down, the atmosphere in the barracks was no longer the quiet and elegant one of tasting tea and reminiscing about the past, but became bleak. Mandarin's purpose of coming here was simple, that is, he came for the nuclear warhead. and Tianjinzong's mission was simple, naturally, to protect the nuclear warhead. The contradiction between them was contradictory and irreconcilable. As for the life-saving grace mentioned just now, although Tianjinzong was grateful, he would not give up his mission for this. He was no longer at the age of going through fire and water to repay his gratitude. He would consider things more comprehensively and would naturally have more concerns. Mandarin naturally did not think that he could easily disintegrate the opponent's defense with an unintentional act many years ago. He thought to himself that with his own ability, there was no need to do so. One is a peer who is as famous as the contemporary Tanshai Mansion Tanshai, and one of the strongest combat forces in the Tanshai Mansion. The other is a Marvel supervillain boss who has practiced magic for many years and has a magic ring with mysterious power to protect him. The battle between these two people will surely be a deadly battle in which no one will hold back. Outside the tent, the entire military camp was operating in an orderly manner, and each department performed its duties, as if the invasion had not happened at all. At this time, a van drove into the military camp, and a team of armed men wearing black clothes and veils got off the car, but the officers and soldiers in the military camp turned a blind eye to them. Chapter 153, The Fierce Battle. The Mandarin's 10 Commandments have various powers, one of which can amplify psychic abilities, allowing him to temporarily guest star as Professor X, and control a large number of people at the same time, and make them hallucinate. The reason why the soldiers turned a blind eye to the men in black was because they were controlled by his hallucinations. In their eyes, there was just an empty space there, and there was nothing unusual. Even if the men in black pointed their guns at their heads, they still did not react at all. Even Lazai was controlled by hallucinations at the beginning, thinking that she could fight Black Widow for 300 rounds, not to mention these ordinary soldiers. Fortunately, these people's goal was not to massacre, but to get what they had dreamed of for a long time. The Mandarin had planned all this long ago. Zheng Shankai's repeated attacks on the military camps were to create a false impression for the army, thinking that his attack would be a big deal. While he was attacking multiple military camps with great fanfare, he used his special abilities to quietly sneak into the target military camp that had been selected long ago. The general of V City had just made a video call with his superiors to confirm that everything was normal at the garrison. If Lazai had not guessed that the attacker was the Mandarin and knew his ability, he might have succeeded. The man in black was responsible for leading the experts to steal the egghead, while the Mandarin was responsible for eliminating the extraordinary power that might pose a threat to him. After analyzing the Mandarin's intention, Lazai rushed towards V City at full speed without any pause. However, although his speed had reached twice the speed of sound, it would take nearly 20 minutes to fly a distance of 600 or 700 kilometers. Although 20 minutes was not long, it was enough for the Mandarin to complete the action. Moreover, the most important thing was that Lazai did not know whether the Mandarin had already taken action before he set off. While flying, Lazai's small universe spread outward. After flying for nearly 10 minutes, a violent energy explosion suddenly came from the direction of V City. From a distance, one could even see that the sky over there was covered with dark clouds, and electric snakes shuttled through the clouds. Lazai secretly said in his heart that it was not good. It seemed that Mandarin had already fought with the people from the Tanshai Mansion. From a distance, the strength of the thunder seemed to be much stronger than that of Zhang Linyu at that time, but with Mandarin's abnormal magic ring ability, it might not be difficult to block it. In the V camp, the place where Tianjinzong and Mandarin were had already become a ruin. The two had been fighting for nearly half an hour. Lazai guessed correctly that the two had been fighting for a long time before he set out. At this time, Box Seghead had been moved from the hiding place to the truck, and Tianjinzong's thunder had also torn apart Mandarin's illusion. After discovering the enemy's invasion, the soldiers quickly entered combat mode. In the sky, Mandarin and Tianjinzong were floating in the air, and lightning and various colored rays shuttled back and forth and collided. Compared with Mandarin's ease, Tianjinzong looked a little miserable. His white tank suit was already stained with blood, and his face was pale, and he looked exhausted. On the ground, the men in black had built a defense line near the truck to block the attack of the garrison. The presence of the egg-shaped box on the truck made the garrison dare not use high destructive thermal weapons. This place is not far from the city. With the power of the egg-shaped box, once it is detonated, millions of citizens in V-City will not be spared. The men in black used the rotary machine guns, rocket launchers, mortars and various heavy weapons moved from the warehouse, and even some energy weapons to frantically release ammunition, making the soldiers unable to raise their heads. Facing the fire suppression of the men in black, when it is impossible to open a breakthrough with heavy firepower, they can only use human lives to block the muzzle of the gun and forcibly carve out a path through the flames of the god of death. In less than 10 minutes, nearly 500 people fell on the way to charge. The battle situation has reached a nearly tragic level. So many people died on the way to charge, and many soldiers who did not hide in the trenches in time were also knocked to the ground by the rain of bullets. Even if they hid in the trenches, they might be overturned by the mortar shells falling from the sky. Then, the gate was completely lost. I just watched The Wandering Earth last night, and I couldn't calm down for a long time. I give a thumbs up to the movie. The special effects are almost impeccable, the plot is compact and ups and downs, and there are no boring moments throughout the whole movie. It has a sense of epic. The passionate music at the end of the film also added infinite hope and motivation to the almost desperate plan of the Wandering Earth that takes 2,500 years. I really like it. In the 2-hour film, I didn't even have time to eat except at the beginning. It is said that the crew was short of money during the filming, and Wu Jing did not take his salary but added an additional $60 million investment, just to make the movie present a special effect that everyone is satisfied with. From a guest actor, he was fooled into becoming a producer. Brother Jing is really a person who has contributed to domestic films. Chapter 154. I'm late. Looking at the lost gate, the company commander sat down on the ground, muttering, "It's over, it's over." Slap. A slap hit his face hard, and the sergeant shouted angrily, "What do you mean it's over? We are still here. We still have people. How come it's over?" The company commander was also furious at the slap, and raised his hand to point at the soldiers behind the sergeant and said, "Look at him. They are not even 20 years old. They are still children." The sergeant clenched his teeth, his voice low and powerful. "This is war. It's war. From the moment they set foot on the battlefield, they are no longer children, but Chinese soldiers. It is their mission to shed blood and sacrifice to defend the country." Pointing in the direction of the gate, the sergeant continued to roar, "Are there no new recruits in the 2nd Battalion? Aren't they children? They can die heroically to stop the enemy. Why do we have to hide here and be cowards? Stop making excuses for your cowardice." Pushing the company commander away, the sergeant turned around and looked at the familiar faces behind him. "Soldiers, all the brothers of the 2nd Battalion have died. None of them are cowards. They are all great. Now the enemy is going to walk out of here with a swagger on the bodies of the brothers of the 2nd Battalion. This will be a shame for our V-City garrison. Can we let the 500 lives of the 2nd Battalion die there in vain? No." Although the new recruits below have never been to the battlefield and have never experienced life and death, they are young and passionate. They don't have as many concerns as middle-aged people. They have many ambitions and steel guns that middle-aged people can no longer pick up. "Okay, pick up your guns, follow me, and charge." After the sergeant shouted, he grabbed the submachine gun in his hand and rushed out of the trench without looking back. Behind him, the young soldiers who had been holding back their anger grabbed their weapons and rushed out with him. Even those 18 or 19-year-old recruits were no exception. For these recruits who have never been exposed to supernatural powers, their feelings can be applied to the most passionate line of Galen in the entire super seminary. Now, gods and ghosts have come to our world at the same time. I don't want to answer any right or wrong questions, believe it or not. I just want someone to tell me how to fight, who to fight, kill the enemy, or die. Death is not terrible, but living without knowing why is terrible. Now, these passionate young people have finally found the meaning of survival. Whether they live or die in this battle, it will be the most glorious and brilliant moment in their lives. At this moment, the sergeant is no longer their instructor during the recruit period, no longer a greasy old soldier who has been a soldier for 20 years. but a general who can lead everyone to the battlefield. More than 100 people launched a charge together, just when the black-clad militants repelled the charge of a battalion and had no time to adjust the direction of defense. It really played the role of a surprise force and caught them off guard. Unfortunately, that's all. Since the Mandarin brought these people with him, he would have a backup plan. One of the armed men stood out from the crowd, raised his hand, and a red light flashed on his fingers. A huge ball of fire instantly shot out. Before the fire got close, the sergeant who was at the front felt the heat coming towards him. The intense heat burned his eyebrows and eyelashes in an instant, and the skin on his face was so hot that it seemed to melt. No. At the end of the team, after the company commander saw the ball of fire, his trembling legs finally stopped being limp. He rolled out of the trench and crawled towards the team. "Since I can't protect you, I will have to die with you. I just hope you don't despise my cowardice." Boom. The fire rushed directly in front of the team with undiminished momentum, and the flames set off a huge heat wave, rushing up to the sky. The company commander was like being shot in the ass. He ran through the slowing team at a speed of 70 miles per hour. In just a moment, he rushed to the front of the team and ran into a golden wall of light while shouting, "Bang!" The pig-killing shouting stopped abruptly. The company commander slid down the wall like a frog, and his movements were as funny as a bad comedian. But no one cared about his life or death, including the sergeant. Everyone stared blankly at the golden wall of light that suddenly appeared. The wall of light not only blocked the flames on the opposite side and protected them from being burned by the flames, but also blocked their charge. If they could not rush up and break through the defense of the black-clad militants, then what was the point of their lives? Smash! Ugh! As soon as the sergeant said this, a silver figure appeared on the other side of the light wall. After hurrying, Zodiac finally arrived. A distance of 600 or 700 kilometers, maintaining a speed of twice the speed of sound for nearly 20 minutes. Even with his current strength, it is inevitable that he is a little out of breath. Raising his hand and pressing the sergeant's mouth, Zodiac panted, Don't shout, let me catch my breath, PFFT." The sergeant took a step back and looked at Zodiac in confusion. "Who are you?" Zodiac let out a long breath, stood up straight, and looked at the Mandarin who had stopped ravaging Tianjin in midair and turned his eyes to him. "Me? I am the warrior who protects love and justice on earth. The silver saint of the giant baron, Zodiac." Behind the silver-purple giant baron cloth, the white cloak fluttered in the wind. Zodiac stood on the ground, but like a steel gun piercing the sky. After reaching a speed of twice the speed of sound and having established a closer communication with the saint cloth after experiencing life and death, Zodiac finally proudly announced to the world that he is now an authentic silver saint, not a bronze saint wearing a silver cloth. While saying these words, Zodiac's eyes were always fixed on the Mandarin, and his eyes were full of overwhelming fighting spirit. "What you gave me, I will give back to you today." Before landing, Zodiac had already taken off the black clothes he used for traveling, and put on the new giant Lord Holy clothes, just to use his most complete state to deal with the Mandarin, who once gave him a failure and almost killed him. Saint Zodiac. The sergeant muttered the word in confusion, but the company commander on the ground stood up. "You are the reinforcements sent by the Spear Bureau. Finally, I have waited for you." "I am." "It doesn't matter." Zodiac waved his hand. "Arrange people to rescue the wounded first." "Sergeant." "Here," the sergeant replied, habitually standing at attention. "Take people to transport the warheads back to the warehouse." As soon as Zodiac finished speaking, the militant holding the ring on the opposite side was not happy. "Hey, what are you?" Poof! Zodiac stretched out a finger, and countless silver-white lights flew out from his fingertips, drawing arcs in the air, and accurately hit the eyebrows of the militants including the one holding the ring. The company commander looked at Zodiac's back in surprise, muttering, "Killing millions of soldiers with one finger. This is a magic spell. Could it be the Shushan Sword Immortal?" "What a bullshit Sword Immortal. Didn't you hear that it was the Saint Zodiac? You don't even know the Saint Zodiac. You are really uneducated." A new recruit next to him sneered. "You know it. Look how capable you are," the company commander retorted with his neck stiff. Another new recruit next to him said, Isn't it said that the Saint Seiya is a hero of New York? How can it appear in China? Who said that the Saint Seiya is from New York? The previous one was dissatisfied. His mission is to guard the love and justice on earth, so naturally where there is evil, there is him. It can only be said that New York is darker and there is more evil. What you said makes sense. 2399, stuck before the integer. Thank you for your support. Thank you for the 500 reward from Verses. Thank you all for your support and encouragement. Chapter 155, Trivial Skills. The man in black fell down, in front of the nearly 1,000 soldiers they had knocked down. But even if they were punished for their crimes, who would compensate for the lives of nearly 1,000 soldiers? Although Lazia's arrival and the superhero identity of the Saint Seiya diluted some of the sadness in everyone's hearts, the pain of losing a comrade was not so easy to suppress. Not to mention the soldiers, even Lazia's eyes turned red when he looked at Mandarin. There is no doubt that the death of the man in black was not enough to bear all the guilt. Only by killing this culprit can the sacrificed soldiers rest in peace. Mandarin quietly floated in the air, ignoring Jian Jinzong who landed quietly in the distance. Like Lazia, they only had each other in their eyes. Jian Jinzong secretly breathed a sigh of relief, not for himself, but for the arrival of Lazia, a strong backup. After Zhang Lin's failure was reported back to the Tanshai mansion, although everyone in the Tanshai mansion was very dissatisfied with the result, they had some understanding of Lazia's strength. Jian Jinzong had secretly thought that Lazia should be about the same as him, but looking at the opponent's momentum at the scene, it seemed that he was only better than him. Mandarin looked at Lazia with surprise, just as Lazia did not expect Mandarin to be the culprit of these attacks. Mandarin also did not expect to meet Lazia in China. Strictly speaking, the battle between them was not over, but was interrupted by Regulus. Mandarin in the sky pointed at the dead black-clad militant and grabbed him through the air. A ring with a red glow flew out of the corpse and flew back to his hand quickly. Lazia did not expect that Mandarin actually had the trick of taking objects from the air, otherwise he would have intercepted the ring in advance, which could also weaken his strength a little. Haha, I didn't expect you to dare to appear in front of me. Mandarin smiled and said, although he was hundreds of meters away. His voice was clearly heard by Lazia. Without the 2 rings in Zheng Shankai's hand, Mandarin still had 8 rings on his hand, flashing various colors of light in the sky. Lazia clenched his fists. I have been looking forward to this scene for a long time, but I didn't expect that after such a long time, your arrogance has not been restrained at all. Have you forgotten the punch that turned you into a star? Mandarin's eyebrows jumped unnaturally, and then he snorted coldly with a sullen face. That punch was not thrown by you. Why are you so proud? I don't believe you have such good luck every time. The warrior in golden armor will not come out to save your life every time you are vomiting blood and dying. Haha, I dare not say whether he will appear again. Lazia raised the corner of his mouth. Let's see who will be beaten to death this time. There is no need to continue here. In public and private, the contradictions between the two are irreconcilable. What else is there to say? Just do it. With his fists at his waist, Lazia's inner universe began to gather. Prepare for death. Pegasus Meteor Fist. Fist shadows rushed towards Mandarin. It was still a copycat version of Pegasus Meteor Fist, but the Meteor Fist that was thrown at twice the speed of sound was not so easy to deal with. A trifle. Facing the fist shadows, Mandarin did not dodge, but raised his hand, and the red flame ring suddenly flashed red. Compared with the one used by the black-armed men, the flames emitted by Mandarin were more than 10 times stronger. The dazzling flames made the soldiers on the ground unable to open their eyes. I didn't expect that you have not improved at all after so long. The flames dissipated, and Mandarin appeared in the sky unscathed, sneering at Lazia on the ground. But there was no trace of Lazia on the ground. Really? Lazia's voice sounded behind Mandarin. Teleport. Mandarin turned around in a hurry. Although he thought that Lazia's strength and speed would become stronger and faster, he didn't expect that he could actually flash. This teleportation completely disrupted his rhythm. Lazia would not give him any chance to react. There was no morality to deal with such a vicious person as Mandarin. Pegasus Meteor Fist was just a cover. and the close-range assassination was the real show. Without using any moves, Zodiac concentrated the small universe of his body on his fist. With such an ordinary punch, he broke through the barrier of the speed of sound and hit Mandarin's chest at a speed of 2 Mach. At such a close distance, Mandarin was almost unable to avoid it. What should the mage do if he is approached without flashing? Mandarin does not need to flash. He has 8 rings. The white light ring can generate a huge repulsive force to push Zodiac back a distance. The blue heart ring can make people hallucinate. Although it cannot completely control Zodiac, it is considered a success as long as he controls him for a moment. Then there is the golden cutting beam ring, which emits a dazzling beam of light. When the two of them fought before, it was this cutting beam ring that destroyed the defense of Zodiac's holy clothes and became the culprit for Zodiac's final defeat. Without the protection of the holy clothes, the defense of the Saint Seiya will be greatly reduced. The beam was very fast and hit Zodiac the moment he was controlled by the illusion, and the position was also the chest position that Mandarin had hit before. Although this set of holy clothes has been repaired and partially modified, Mandarin recognized it as the previous set of holy clothes at a glance. No matter how much it is repaired, there will still be small cracks in the places that have been broken, and that is where it is most vulnerable. Mandarin's thinking is not wrong, but he mistakenly underestimated the recovery power of holy clothes and the magical degree of holy clothes repairing skills. The new holy clothes will not only completely repair all of the previous cracks, but also improve the defense. What's more, Zodiac also fused the 2 egg swords into a round shield with stronger defense than other parts of the holy clothes. Zilong's bronze shield blocked the attack of the Saint Seiya, so Zodiac's silver shield could easily block the cutting beam of the Mandarin. Clang! The beam hit the round shield that Zodiac was holding on his chest, making a fierce vibration sound, but it did not cause much damage to the round shield, only scratching the surface. The Mandarin was really confused. If even the cutting beam could not break through the defense of this set of saints, then it would be difficult for his other rings to cause damage to it. Stepping back a distance, the Mandarin looked at Zodiac's saints in disbelief. You have improved the defense of this set of armor? You didn't have this shield before. Zodiac shook his head. You are wrong. It's not because of this shield. Let me tell you a secret. With the corners of his mouth raised, Zodiac said coolly, the same moves are useless for the Saint Seiya. The extra update for the helmsman Yi Jian is a little late. Please bear with me. Thank you for your support. Thank you. Thank you for the 500 reward. Thank you for your support. Thank you. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 156 A Gentleman's Revenge. The same moves are useless to Saint Seiya. Strictly speaking, this sentence is more of a show-off. If the same move really fails the second time, then what's the point of fighting? Every skill is a one-time use. So Saint Seiya would be embarrassed to go out if he doesn't have a dozen or 20 moves. Don't forget the definition of the same move. It doesn't count if the enemy is hit once in person. It counts if he has seen it, even if someone has seen it and cuts off his eyeballs and throws it to you to watch the replay. It counts. C10 Windhole's Dark White Bird. However, let's not talk about those silver saints who died after using only one move. Let's talk about the big devil Seiya. He used the move Pekas's Ryuzukin countless times from beginning to end, and it's unknown how many people and gods have seen it and even been hit by it. However, he still used this move to travel through the entire Saint Seiya world. Is Kurumata slapping himself in the face? So, the saying that the same moves are useless to saints can be understood in this way. Saints have superb recording and analysis abilities. They can analyze the enemy's punches and flaws from the moves they have seen. When they face the enemy again, they have the possibility of avoiding the moves. No matter what the truth is, when Zodiac used his new armor shield to block the Mandarin's cutting beam based on his prediction and said this, he instantly felt that his status was so high that he could fly to the sky and stand shoulder to shoulder with the sun. A transcendent temperament of a top master emerged leisurely. Of course, The Mandarin on the opposite side felt very unhappy. The biggest difference between the cutting beam ring and other rings is that it has a 20-minute cooling time. Such a long CD is very fatal. The last time he fought against Lazian, he dragged it out for 20 minutes before breaking Lazia's armor defense in the second attack, and this time, even if the CD is shortened 10 times, he has no chance. Lazai is no longer the Lazai who could not bring out the full power of the holy armor, and the holy armor is no longer the fragile armor that will crack when hit by the beam of his ring. With the shield and crystal wall skills with upgraded defense, Lazai has the ability to fight the magic ring. It's my turn. Lazia's body suddenly accelerated and rushed towards Mandarin without warning in midair, with his fists gathering power behind him. Seeing this, Mandarin hurriedly used the white light ring again to push him out, but Lazia's figure suddenly disappeared. Behind, Mandarin hurriedly wanted to turn around, thinking that Lazia was trying to attack him from behind again, but Lazia used teleportation to appear directly above his head, and his whole body turned into a dragon. Guessed wrong. Lushan dragon flying. The dragon fell from the sky and hit Mandarin head-on, opened its mouth and bit him, and the huge momentum of the dragon god rushed him directly from a height of hundreds of meters to the ground, and a huge deep pit was created on the concrete ground. If Mandarin had not used the power of his ring to offset some of the impact in midair, this blow would have probably broken his neck. In the deep pit, Lazia leaned over and half-crouched, holding Mandarin's face with one hand and pressing him to the ground. How is it? You haven't seen this palm technique that falls from the sky, right? Are you surprised or happy? Mandarin's face was pressed and he couldn't speak, but his fingers moved, and a lightning bolt shot out from his hand and pierced the back of Lazia's head, which was not protected by his helmet. Lazia didn't even turn his head, and a golden crystal wall appeared behind him, blocking the lightning attack. When your ring doesn't work, Mandarin, what else can you rely on? The air temperature around them suddenly began to drop sharply. Lazia raised the corners of his mouth and grabbed Mandarin's hand. Ice crystals continued to appear and began to spread to Mandarin's face. You don't bully too much. Under the oppression, Mandarin suddenly burst out with a powerful momentum, and a burst of energy exploded from his body. Just like the martial arts masters in martial arts novels using internal force to vibrate the surface of the body. Lazia was caught off guard and was shaken back half a step by the explosion of internal force, and the hand holding Mandarin was naturally broken free. A white light flashed on Mandarin's body, and the whole person flew out from the bottom of the pit. You forced me to be serious. A sharp spear made of ice stabbed at a fast speed, piercing Mandarin's shoulder blade with lightning speed. The cold air on the ice spear directly froze the wound, and Mandarin instantly felt half of his body numb. You talk too much nonsense. Lazia raised his hand, and dozens of ice spears were suspended beside him. I have already beaten you like this, and you are just starting to take it seriously. Don't you think you are not courting death? Ice spear White Lotus. As Lazia waved his hand, dozens of ice spears stabbed at Mandarin at the same time. Each ice spear contained a biting cold air and unparalleled penetrating power. Anything in front of them would be stabbed into an ice hedgehog. Fierce flames burst out from Mandarin's hands again, but this time the flames did not block the ice spear as easily as they did the last time they blocked the meteor fist, but only slowed it down slightly. While slowing down the ice spear, Mandarin activated another ring, reorganizing the matter, and wanted to repeat the trick, turning Lazia's ice spear White Lotus into a ball of water vapor. But the ice spear exploded into pieces, and Lazia approached Mandarin again at this moment. It must be said that when he rubbed Mandarin's head on the ground just now, Lazia fell in love with this kind of punch-to-flesh attack. Standing still to output is handsome, but using fists to hit the enemy's old face is the romance of men. Bang! Mandarin was caught off guard and had no time to react, and was hit on the side of his face by a fist that suddenly appeared in the mist. Puff! 2 bloody back teeth flew out. Mandarin's handsome and gentle face changed shape, and his body was almost hit off the ground. I've been annoyed by your face for a long time. You're so old, but you don't behave yourself. You come out to pretend to be an uncle and have mistresses. I'm going to beat you up today. Lazia retracted his right fist and threw a left hook. leaving a fist mark on the other half of Mandarin's face. The left and right sides were symmetrical, which looked much better. At some point, Han Bing quietly climbed up Mandarin's legs and fixed his body to the ground. Otherwise Lazai would have knocked him away with 2 punches. I told you not to act cool. I told you not to cause trouble. I wanted to give you a good life. But you came out to steal nuclear bombs and do some damage. Lazai beat and scolded him at the same time, and he put all his strength into every punch. Fortunately, Mandarin practiced magic skills to develop super physical fitness. Otherwise he would have become a broken sack by now. Jian Jinzong, who was meditating and resting not far away, looked up at this side and quietly closed his eyes. It seems that the Tanshai mansion had seriously misjudged Lazai's strength before. They once thought that Lazai's ability to defeat Zhang Linnu was just a fluke. Lazai's strength is at most higher than Zhang Linnu, and there is still some gap between them and the old people in the Tanshai mansion. After all, Lazai's age is there. Even if he has been practicing since he was sensible, he has only been practicing for more than 10 years. How can he compare with them, the old predecessors who have practiced for decades? But now it seems that it is better not to compare people. After all, there are still differences in aptitude, and the quality of the exercises has a great impact. If Jian Jinzong knew that Lazai has only been practicing for half a year since he started practicing, I wonder what he would think. Of course, there is no comparison between Lazai, who was directly transformed by someone else's microcosm. Mandarin has a deep understanding of Lazai's progress. The kid who was flattened by him a few months ago actually took more than 3 months to grow into a person he needs to look up to. He couldn't understand why the world changed so fast. However, although he looked very badly beaten, he did not completely lose the ability to fight back. He was just looking for an opportunity to fight back. After fighting for a while, Lazai suddenly got tired of the mechanical feeling of hitting a wooden stake. If the battle was simply one-sided, then it would be meaningless to fight or look at. After a pause, Lazai listened, looked at the deformed face of Mandarin that was almost unrecognizable, and moved his fingers. A villain like you who has committed so many evil deeds doesn't need any chance to say your last words. Go to hell and confess to the king of hell. After saying that, he retracted his fist from his waist and swung it out again. This time, he wanted to smash Mandarin's head. Mandarin's eyes suddenly widened. The opportunity he had been waiting for had come. He used all his magic power to his right arm. The ring on his finger flashed with various colors of light and hit Lazai's fist fiercely. He wanted to use this punch to completely reverse the suppressed situation and regain the initiative in the battle. You bastard, go to hell. The 2 fists collided with each other, but there was no violent collision sound or any shock wave. Lazai's fist, wrapped in the silver-purple holy cloth, swept through like a broken bamboo. The Mandarin's fist and arm were shattered into pieces like glass, and blood was everywhere. The broken arm made the Mandarin scream miserably, and his eyeballs were about to burst out. In front of the unreasonable atomic destruction ability of the Saint Seiya, the Mandarin's ring ability and magic skills were useless. Lazai had not used the destructive power of the small universe when he hit the Mandarin's face before, just to be able to punch a few more times to vent his anger. When he was about to end this tasteless crushing, he wrapped his fist with the small universe, wanting to directly smash the Mandarin's head. But he didn't expect that the Mandarin would launch a desperate counterattack at this time, reaching out to grab the 4 magic rings that were scattered in the air because of the broken arm. Lazai smiled and shook his head at Mandarin. Want to fight back? Unfortunately, you chose the wrong time. I'll take this evil arm away. As for these rings, Lazai squeezed his hand hard, then silently put his hand behind his back. These rings no longer belong to you. I don't know what these rings are made of, but Lazai couldn't crush them with one hand. Damn it. Mandarin didn't feel the embarrassment on Lazai's face. The pain of losing his arm made his body tremble constantly, and anger and fear filled his entire chest. The fear of death surged in his heart. At this moment, Mandarin was really scared. Under the pressure of anger and fear, Mandarin burst into an unwilling cry. On his remaining left hand, the 4 rings flashed dazzling light of different colors at the same time, and his fist with lightning, Flames and dazzling white light smashed into Lazia's face fiercely. Lazia did not dodge, and smiled as the lightning and flames swallowed his figure. "You still don't understand." Lazia's figure appeared behind Mandarin and grabbed his arm. "You are no longer a threat to me now." Tear. Lazia pulled hard, and Mandarin's left arm was torn off. Blood gushed out again. Mandarin, who lost both arms, became a bloody man. His arms were broken at the shoulders, and a nice spear was stuck in his shoulder blade. Mandarin, with a bloody face, looked like an old man in his twilight years. He looked down at Lazia with his eyes wide open. The pain in his broken arm penetrated his heart, but he gritted his teeth and stopped himself from shouting. Born into a Mongolian noble family and having traveled across Asia for decades, Mandarin was proud in his bones. This pride would not allow him to admit defeat to an 18-year-old former defeated general, but the reality was that he was no longer able to fight back, and he even had no hands. Crushing Mandarin's left arm and gathering the 8 rings in his palm, Lazia held the magic ring tightly and looked at the dying Mandarin happily. "I'll ask the previous question again. Without the blessing of the magic ring, what else can you rely on, Mandarin?" Mandarin gritted his teeth and still insisted at this time, "I can rely on a lot. You will see." "Really? What a pity." Lazia's face suddenly changed. Just a moment ago, the ground under his feet suddenly shook violently. The range of the shaking was very wide. Even the recruit company that was rescuing the wounded in the distance was affected. "Earthquake!" The recruits shouted in confusion, and hurriedly protected the wounded in their hands and ran to a wide place. "No, it's not an earthquake." Lazia felt the volcanic eruption in the illusion space, so he could feel the difference between the shaking of the earth. The shaking just now was not an earthquake, but it seemed that there was a powerful small universe moving underground. Boom! The surging earth suddenly bulged for no reason, and a huge green dragon head roared out of the ground behind Mandarin, and then opened its bloody mouth and swallowed the remains of Mandarin in one gulp. Behind the dragon head was a long body, just like the legendary Oriental dragon. Although it was large in size, it was incredibly fast. After swallowing the Mandarin, it turned its body and burrowed into the soil, just like a giant trevally jumping out of the water to catch seabirds and returning to the sea with its prey in its mouth. Looking at this huge creature that suddenly appeared like a dragon from the Celestial Empire, Lazia was stunned for a moment. "What is this? An earth dragon turning over? An earth dragon?" The metallic luster reflected from the dragon pierced Lazia's eyes and woke him up from his speculation. No, this dragon was made of all metal and was a man-made thing. It probably didn't appear to swallow the Mandarin. After all, the most valuable things on the Mandarin should be these magic rings. Now all 8 magic rings are on Lazia. What is there to swallow with a broken body of the Mandarin? Moreover, this dragon is mechanical. It won't be hungry, and it doesn't need to eat any meat. Unless, it didn't jump out to eat the Mandarin, but to save him. Who is talking about short? Chapter 157 Iron Dragon. The more Lazia thought about it, the more he felt that this was possible. Mandarin had worked hard for decades, so it was not impossible for him to create such a steel dragon. But no matter what, he couldn't let it run away. A scourge like Mandarin must be seen dead with his own eyes. Seeing that most of the steel dragon's body had already drilled into the soil with only its tail still exposed, Lazia did not hesitate, and took a step forward, clenched his fist and smashed it on the ground. With the huge body of the steel dragon, it would be difficult for Lazia to hold it with his own hands. The destructive power of the Saint Seiya was amazing, but not everyone was a strong man, and using the power of the fist to hit the ground might also block the escape path of the steel dragon. Boom! The punch containing the small universe directly smashed the ground and collapsed. The steel dragon in the soil was inevitably affected. It might have hit its control system, causing its actions to be a little out of balance, and the earth began to surge again in an instant. Lazia raised his fist and prepared to punch again, but suddenly a shout came from a distance. "Don't worry about me, go protect the truck first. This is an order." "Yes, everyone help." Not far away, due to the shaking of the earth, the infrastructure of the barracks partially collapsed, and the ground also collapsed. The truck loaded with nuclear warheads was near a pit. Led by the sergeant, the soldiers of the recruit company rushed to the truck. Regardless of the shaking of the earth, They used their shoulders and hands to hold the truck from falling into the pit. The company commander on the side was crushed by the broken stones of the broken wall, and the blood had dyed his pants red, but he ordered the soldiers to protect the truck first. In the face of disaster, the company of literati finally showed their perseverance. This is the soul of a soldier. If Lizaya punched again, it would certainly cause trouble to the fleeing Iron Dragon and even kill Mandarin. But the soldiers of the recruit camp might also die in the earthquake caused by the Iron Dragon's struggle, and the earthquake will even affect more wounded people laying on the ground. Between killing and saving people, Lizaya naturally chose the latter, but he was unwilling to let Mandarin run away. Although Mandarin had basically become a useless person, if the steel dragon just now was really his creation, then as long as he wanted, he could create more such steel dragons and turn a country upside down. Although he was unwilling, Lizaya was still ready to save people first. At this time, a long sigh suddenly came from the side. "Little friend La, don't worry about chasing the bandit leader, I will take care of them here and ensure their safety." The speaker was Jian Jinzong. After a period of recovery, his injuries had recovered a little. Lizaya was delighted. Although this old Taoist priest did not block Mandarin's attack, as a member of the Longnu Mountain Tanshai Mansion, he should have no problem saving people. "Okay, thank you, old man." Lizaya stood up and took off his holy clothes in a flash, turning into a huge holy cup and falling to the ground. "Use this cup to hold water for the wounded to drink. It should help them recover from their injuries. I'll leave this to you." While the two were talking, the steel dragon had already drilled into the ground and escaped for a distance. Although there were still gullies on the ground, the vibrations had calmed down. Lizaya stopped talking and directly manifested Mo Yi and chased in the direction where the steel dragon's microcosm left. Everything has a microcosm. If the steel dragon wants to move normally, it must have a power source to provide it with power. From Lizaya's microcosm perspective, this power source is a huge, high-intensity, and traceable microcosm. The speed of the steel dragon is very fast. Even if it moves in the soil, it can reach a speed of several hundred kilometers per hour. Lizaya suspected that Mandarin had already controlled the steel dragon to dig through the ground nearby. After leaving the military camp for a distance, seeing that there were no villages or pedestrians around, Lizaya accelerated and flew to the front of the steel dragon's escape direction. After landing, he opened his hands and pressed them on the ground. "Come out!" Black rock explosion. The energy of the microcosm followed the landmark and penetrated hundreds of meters underground. The rocks and mud below were instantly melted into boiling lava by the high temperature. The lava rushed up along the cracks in the ground and just hit the body of the fast-moving steel dragon. Boom! The flat ground was arched up by the huge force, and the green dragon body was forcibly rushed up to the sky from the ground by the red and yellow lava. Although the temperature of the lava was not enough to melt the steel, the huge impact force caused the slender body of the steel dragon to deform unnaturally. The steel dragon let out a roar like a dragon in midair, and with the help of the jets on its body stopped in midair. The hot air and wind pressure from the jets vaporized the surrounding moisture and raised dust. For a time, smoke billowed, and it really looked like a dragon flying in the clouds. Flying in the air with his black wings flapping, Lizaya put his fingers together to form a sword, pointed at the Iron Dragon and shouted, "Hey, you goblin, spit out the waste in your stomach quickly, and I will spare your life. Otherwise, be careful that I will peel your skin and pull out your tendons, and you will not die well." The Iron Dragon did not reply, but opened its mouth towards Lizaya, and a thick black round tube stretched out from its throat. Roar! As the Iron Dragon roared, a raging fire suddenly spurted out of the round tube, and Lizaya, who was not far away from it, was sprayed by the flames and was instantly covered by the flames. The Iron Dragon had no idea how much fuel it was equipped with. The flames were endless, burning the surrounding sand and gravel into magma, and it seemed that it would not stop until Lizaya was roasted into a roast chicken. Just as it was having fun, a black hand suddenly stretched out from the flames and flattened the jet tube. The flame was a mixture of hydrogen and oxygen that burned outside. The jet tube was flattened and blocked, and the flame naturally disappeared. The flame of the steel dragon uses a mixture of hydrogen and oxygen to burn, and the temperature can reach more than 2,500 degrees, which is twice the temperature of lava, and can even melt steel. Unfortunately, it encountered Lazian, a professional birdman who plays with fire. With the back pattern of the vermilion bird, the flames did not make him feel uncomfortable, but made him feel as comfortable as bathing in warm water. Grabbing the jet tube with one hand, Lazian pulled it back enthusiastically, and with a hiss, a 3 or 4 meter long tube was pulled out of the throat of the steel dragon. "So you like to play deep throat." Lazian walked out of the flames without any change on his body. The black ink clothes were wrapped in a small universe like flames. "Then the question is, you put this thing in your throat, so where did the mandarin go?" The surface of the long tube was covered with a thick layer of ice crystals, and it turned into an ice pillar that one person could hug and was erected to open the dragon's mouth. Lazian stood in the mouth of the steel dragon and looked inside. He saw that the dragon's mouth was full of mechanical mechanisms. At first glance, there was no place to hide people. "Could it be that you are the dragon warrior Rijinmaru, and there is another dimension inside your body?" Chapter 158 Winning Glory for the Country. The sound of propellers rang out in the air. Lazian looked up and found that the helicopter in the sky looked familiar. After a while, the plane landed near the ground. Zheng Xian jumped off the plane and walked over. He looked up and asked in confusion, "Is this the Earth Dragon that caused the earthquake?" "It's really big." He had contacted the garrison in V City on the way and roughly knew the situation here. Lazian squatted on the dragon head that had turned into an ice sculpture with a frustrated look on his face, holding a miniature reactor in his hand. "That's it. How is it over there?" "Did Captain Tao stop the invader?" "Oh, he stopped it." Zheng Xian frowned and nodded. "Not long after you left, the invader suddenly stopped attacking for some reason. It seems that attacking the garrison was not his intention, but he was controlled by something." "Controlled?" Lazian had not shown that he knew Zheng Shankai before, so at this time he could only follow Zheng Xian's words. "Well," Zheng Xian blinked, "don't worry, Captain Tao is using his abilities to help him suppress the things that control him. Maybe this time we can turn a disaster into a blessing and incorporate this invader into our combat power." Lazian was a little surprised at this development, but, "Isn't that an invader? He has already attacked 2 military camps, and so many soldiers were killed and injured." Zheng Xian shook his head. "There are some injuries, but they are all minor, and nothing was lost. We have been wondering why he didn't kill anyone before, but now it seems that he still has a conscience even after being controlled. Such a person is worth our efforts to win over and unite all the forces that can be united." As Taizu said, Lazian understood the desire of the Shinmao Bureau to recruit talents. After all, such a large emergency department of the Celestial Empire could not be supported by Captain Tao and a few others. But speaking of casualties, there is news from V City that no less than 300 brothers died in today's battle, and there are many injured. "They said that you know the leader, Mandarin. How is it? Have you caught him?" Lazian shook his head helplessly. He had already used his small universe to explore the whole body of the Iron Dragon, but unfortunately he did not find the Mandarin's small universe. The Iron Dragon is not a dragon pill but a technological creation, so it naturally does not have things like extra-dimensional space. Lazian was so angry that he was about to explode because the Mandarin had caused such a big thing but did not catch the culprit. In a rage, he directly took off the power source of the Iron Dragon and froze it completely. This was not the end. The underground passage where the Iron Dragon ran was also filled with magma by Lazian using the black rock molten explosion and then directly collapsed. Mandarin did not know where he got off the car, and it was impossible to catch it back, so he could only use this method to vent his anger. "That bastard ran away, but I broke his arm and opened a hole in his shoulder. Even if he didn't die, he would be skinned alive, and with the loss of this big dragon, it should be quiet for a while." Lazian jumped down from the dragon head and handed a pile of things to Zheng Xian. "Don't worry, we didn't have time to spare before. He won't be able to make any big waves in this land in the future. Sooner or later, we will scrape him out and avenge our fallen brothers," Zheng Xian said with a gloomy face. Obviously, he felt bad for sacrificing so many soldiers at once. After all, he was also a soldier and the soldiers in the army were his brothers. As he spoke, He took a pile of colorful rings and held them in his hands. Zheng Xian looked at Lazai in confusion. Why did you give me the rings? These gems look real. Do you want me to sell them to pay the pensions to the injured brothers? Don't worry, the country will arrange it. Lazai never liked the sad atmosphere. In order to ease the grief in Zheng Xian's heart, he joked, "This is for you. Use it to deceive girls. I heard from Lao He that you are a young man in your 40s and you are still a single dog. You are not as good as an 18-year-old child like me. I am single and eat your rice." Zheng Xian rolled his eyes. "Don't make a fuss. What are these rings from?" The rings were basically pulled off the minced meat of Mandarin, and there were blood stains on them. At first glance, they were not kind grafts. Lazai gave Zheng Xian a general explanation of the purpose of these rings. As for their origin, he was not very clear. He only knew that they seemed to be made by aliens. "You said this little ring can emit lightning, this one can set fire, and this one even broke your holy clothes?" Zheng Xian really learned something new. "Isn't this the magic ring in fantasy novels?" Lazai nodded. There was nothing wrong with this understanding. After talking about the ring, the two turned their attention to the steel dragon. It was hard not to notice such a big piece of ice on the ground. "This is its power source." Lazai handed the micro-reactor to Zheng Xian and continued. "The workmanship is relatively rough. It should be made by Ivan Vanko. Remember the exhibition accident of Hammer Industries at the Stark Industrial Expo before we returned to China? It was done by him. His father is Anton Vanko. He and Tony Stark's father worked together to research and invent the arc reactor. I wonder if you have any information about him." Zheng Xian nodded. "I have heard of him. He is a physicist from the former Soviet Union. We have tried to contact him, but we have never been able to find him." "No need to look for him. The old man should be dead." Logically, Ivan Vanko should also be dead. How could Mandarin have the micro-reactor he made? After the Hammer Industrial Exhibition accident, although Lazai did not kill Ivan Vanko personally, he later contacted Tony and heard him say that he saw Ivan Vanko commit suicide with his own eyes. In this case, it is very likely that Mandarin had contacted Ivan Vanko before and obtained his technology. Patting the dragon's body, the ice on it began to fall off and dissipate. "If we don't have guns or cannons, the enemy will build them for us. This big guy will be ours in the future." Zheng Xian nodded excitedly. "With it and the remote-controlled steel soldiers, the combat effectiveness of our troops will be unprecedentedly improved, and the safety of the soldiers will be better guaranteed. The matter has come to an end here. Someone will take care of the recovery of the steel dragon." Lazai is concerned about Zheng Shankai's situation, so she takes a helicopter with Zheng Xian back to County A. On the way, Lazai and Zheng Xian talked about something else. "By the way, brother Zheng, you said you are almost 40 years old and still a single dog. What's wrong? Are you afraid of being cheated on?" Lazai was joking. The family members of military attaches stationed abroad can accompany them abroad. The reason why Zheng Xian didn't have a girlfriend might be that he had some unspeakable secrets. Zheng Xian rolled his eyes at Lazai. "I'm not as lucky as you, with a beautiful girlfriend and a capable female secretary." Lazai chuckled. "Why, are you jealous? Do you want me to introduce you to one? By the way, do you discriminate against foreigners?" Zheng Xian shrugged. "What's there to discriminate against? Being able to ride a foreign horse is to win glory for the country. Is that why you're a bridegroom every night in the United States?" How dare Lao He say anything and slander his superiors? "I'm going to punish him." "It's good that he doesn't discriminate," Lazai said seriously. "There is a person named Maya Hansen, a botanist who studies life sciences. She graduated from MIT and should be doing research funded by a company called AIM Advanced Technologies. Let the intelligence department find her, and then use your personal charm to capture her. This will not only be a great thing that benefits the country and the people, but also save me a plot." "Come on, brother Zheng, you can do it." The domestic chapter is about to end, and an unexpected long-legged and big-breasted girl will appear at the end of the chapter. Haha, thank you 159's Green Bamboo Kiki Smile vs Face for your rewards. Thank you God's Grace 810 for your 500 rewards. Thank you Pure Color Ocean for your 1000 rewards. Thank you all for your support. Chapter 159 Nature is Calling. Lazai wasn't kidding Zheng Xian. Ma Hansen is the inventor of the extremis virus in Iron Man 3 inches. If Zheng Xian could really win over Ma Hansen, the plot of Iron Man 3 inches would be completely rewritten. After all, with the existence of Saint Ce Lazai, although Lazai is not sure whether the Battle of New York can be fought, if it is, Tony will definitely not be allowed to fly alone with a nuclear bomb to plug the hole in the end. If Tony didn't fly into the portal to plug the hole, he wouldn't see the huge alien fleet. If he didn't see the alien fleet, he wouldn't have changed his personality and become Iron Man, who is concerned about the country and the people, so that he would not sleep all night and become a crazy iron-lifting demon to madly brush his own equipment. Without Ma Hansen, Killian of avant-garde technology would not get the extremis virus and become a pretentious villain, and he would not use the name of Mandarin to make trouble all over the world. Iron Man 3 inches doesn't even need to be written, and the funds are saved, which is gratifying. Of course, Lazai only mentioned it. Whether Zheng Xian would do it or not still had his own considerations. After all, as the director of the Xinmao Bureau, his every move involved too many people. The helicopter quickly flew back to the A County military base. From a distance, Lazai saw 5 big men sitting on the ground. Among them was Zheng Shankai. The abilities of the 5 brothers of the Tao family are very special. In addition to the 5 people being able to communicate with each other's strength and spirit and merge, they can also improve their abilities by feeling the vitality of their Chinese compatriots. This kind of spiritual communication between brothers can even affect Chinese compatriots who are closer to them, and to a certain extent, strengthen their strength and spirit in the opposite direction. Now, they are using this ability to help Zheng Shankai completely suppress the control of the magic ring. Because of the defeat of the Mandarin, the magic ring lost its owner and its control over Zheng Shankai was not that strong. Not long after Lazai arrived, Zheng Shankai suppressed the control of the magic ring with the help of the Wanzangxia. Dang! The 2 rings fell to the ground. Zheng Shankai slowly opened his eyes and saw Lazai standing not far away. Lazai. The surprise on Zheng Shankai's face turned into a reassuring smile, just as gentle and sunny as when he first met Lazai at Laowang's Chinese medicine hall. Brother Zheng. Lazai walked over and pulled Zheng Shankai up from the ground. Zheng Shankai obviously didn't expect to meet Lazai in China. The surprise in his heart was unstoppable. He had been controlled by Mandarin these days to do many things he didn't like or wanted to do, and he felt very depressed and aggrieved. Although Lazai's appearance didn't make him completely get out of his depression and aggrieved, it could relieve a lot. But now is not the time to reminisce about the past. After all, he knew what he had done before. Facing the thousands of heroes and the armed soldiers behind him, Zheng Shankai decisively raised his hands. I accept the punishment. The 2 met and parted again a few minutes later. Zheng Shankai's fault still needs to go through the trial process, but if there is a penalty, Zheng Xian will try his best to reduce it. Zheng Shankai surrendered. Mandarin escaped with injuries. The black-clad militants were knocked out by Lazai with 1 punch, and the armed forces attacking the other 2 counties were easily suppressed by the garrison. The invasion initiated by Mandarin was finally resolved with the joint efforts of the Xinmao Bureau and the garrison troops. Lazai did not need to get involved in the follow-up. At the military base in City V, the wounded were basically well treated with the help of the Holy Cloth Cup. Even those soldiers who fell to the ground had lost too much blood. The soldiers who were supposed to be too late to be treated miraculously survived and were sent to the hospital for blood transfusion because of the water in the Holy Cloth Cup. Because of the Holy Cloth Cup, the number of soldiers who died in the army was reduced from more than 300 to less than 200. Although it is still a large number, at least many more people were saved. After all the wounded were treated, Lazai took back his Holy Cloth Cup, but the magical effect of this Holy Cloth Cup still attracted widespread attention from the Tanshai Mansion and the medical community. As a well-known and upright sect, the Tanshai Mansion would not want to take her for themselves. Moreover, after seeing the remote control recognition function of the Holy Clothes, they also gave up similar ideas. In the medical field, among the followers was Dr. Wu, whom Lazai had asked Zheng Xian to find. After so long, he was finally found. The 2 met in a hospital in Beijing. Dr. Wu had a face exactly like the one in the movie. After seeing Lizian, his attitude was very polite. Although he was much older than Lizian, he was very humble. "Hello." After Zhengxian introduced them, the two shook hands warmly. This time, Dr. Wu's lines would not be just one sentence. After the greetings, Lizian talked to Dr. Wu about Tony Stark's disease. After listening to it, Dr. Wu said that he could try to use acupuncture to assist the surgery, but the specific plan needed to be studied further. After all, human life was at stake. "I heard that Mr. Le has a magic weapon that can prolong people's lives. I wonder if I can take a look." Dr. Wu looked at Lizian with burning eyes. The efficacy of the Holy Close Cup has been said to be miraculous, and it is said to be more magical than the jade bottle of Guanyin Bodhisattva. In this world where everything can be explained by science, the magical effect of the giant garment is really incredible, and it is no wonder that everyone is curious. Just like Tony asked Jarvis to test it, Dr. Wu did not test any substances that can have a strong effect on the body from the water in the garment cup. In the end, it was found that the more you know, the more you don't know. While Dr. Wu was researching the treatment plan for Tony, Lizian relied on his understanding of Senryuo Wangxian to write an entry-level version of the natural energy cultivation method with a formula and movements. Later, it was named the first set of national primary and secondary school students' cultivation gymnastics. Nature is calling. The entry-level version only teaches people to feel the existence of natural energy and learn some preliminary ways to draw energy into the body. At this point, it will only have a certain effect of strengthening the body, but it is not enough to condense the back pattern to obtain special abilities. This is also what Zhengxian meant. If all of Senryuo Wangxian is announced at once, it will be used by bad people to practice it, which will make the society uneasy. So according to Zhengxian, only those who have passed the political review and registered can continue to practice the next step of the exercise. Although this cannot completely prevent the occurrence of defection, it is better than the extraordinary power being scattered among the people and becoming an uncontrollable force. Lizian also agreed with this approach. He did not want any criminals to use the natural energy cultivated by Senryuo Wangxian to do evil everywhere. If that were the case, he would not have to do anything else every day. Just cleaning up the door everywhere would be enough. Nature is Calling began to be promoted in primary and secondary schools and the military at the same time. In about 3 months, the effect was fed back. As expected by Lizian, the rate of comprehension of natural energy was shockingly low. Even among the primary school students with the highest probability, it was only less than 1 in 10,000. The rate of comprehension for middle school students was about 3 in 100,000, and the rate of comprehension for adults was even lower. Among the more than 2 million soldiers in the country, there were only 1 or 2 who had comprehended it, and these few people were about 20 years old. Of course, although the comprehension rate is low, the number of primary school students in the country exceeds 100 million. With this huge base, even if only 1 in 10,000 people comprehend it, that would be 10,000 superhero reserve. This number is shocking enough. Not only that, people who practiced the introductory chapter generally felt that their bodies were stronger, so even if they didn't develop a sense of chi, they still persisted in practicing, looking forward to the day when quantitative changes would lead to qualitative changes. Chapter 160. The Dean arrives. Lushan Nature Research Institute is a newly established integrated boarding school that provides education from primary school to university. Just by hearing the name, one might think that this is a fake university, but this school has been destined to have an extraordinary status since its establishment. The school is located in the beautiful Lushan Mountain, which is famous for its majestic, strange, dangerous and beautiful scenery. Although it was established for less than a month, it has become a large educational institution with tens of thousands of students, more than 1,000 faculty and staff, and covers an area of more than 3,000 or 4,000 acres. This newly established Liuyuan is naturally prepared for those children who have cultivated their sense of qi through the call of nature. From the moment they cultivated their sense of qi, it means that they have entered a brand new world of high martial arts, and they are no longer suitable for the previous ordinary education. Whether it is for social stability or for their future development, the country will build a school to bring them together. and it is also convenient to better control these extraordinary powers. The location of the academy was requested by Lizian. After all, he claimed to be the descendant of Tongnu of Mount Lu, and chose Mount Lu to pay tribute to Tongnu, who had been squatting in Mount Lu for more than 200 years. Of course, the most important thing is that this place is far away from the city and closer to nature, which makes it more convenient for students to feel the natural energy. Lizian even contacted Longnu Mountain to jointly find a way to use the small universe combined with their Taoism to transform the 5 old peaks and see if they can make the 5 old peaks waterfall in the original book. Yes, the Longnu Mountain Tanshai Mansion, which is not far from Mount Lu, was also pulled in. There are these ready-made martial arts fighting coaches, so it's a waste not to use them. After seeing the determination of the country and the scale of Laiyuan, Tanshai Mansion agreed very happily. The plan of Tanshai Mansion is very simple. Since it can't stop the development of Laiyuan, then join in and become one of them, and move towards a brilliant future together. After the school was built, Lizian became the honorary dean of Laiyuan, although he was not responsible for managing the specific educational and teaching affairs of the school. In name, all students graduating from Laiyuan in the future will become his disciples. Imagine that thousands of tattooed social people will call the dean in unison. That scene is absolutely shocking. Of course, it is wrong to engage in personality worship. The school motto of Laiyuan is also protecting justice, which has nothing to do with the dean. However, later, this school motto was interpreted by naughty students into another sentence. In order to prevent the world from being destroyed, to maintain world peace, to implement love and true justice, the most charming social people appear, and a white tomorrow is waiting for us. In a month, most of the children who have practiced Qi have gathered in Laiyuan. There are some children whose parents are worried about leaving home, and the school does not force them. It's just that they will not get further training opportunities in the future, and their social activities will be monitored and recorded by the intelligence agency of the Shinmao Bureau without affecting their normal life. The affairs of the academy are all handled by the people of the Shinmao Bureau. Lizian, the dean, is happy to be free. However, before returning to the United States, he needs to give a big class to all teachers and students, and demonstrate the various abilities of Senryuo Wangxian on the spot, including the materialization of ink clothes, to increase their motivation to study and practice. The time of the big class had been announced long ago. Early in the morning, more than 10,000 teachers and students from the whole school gathered at the huge Tandi Dojo. Tandi Dojo is the place where Laiyuan students usually practice and comprehend the natural energy between heaven and earth. The huge monument at the entrance is inscribed with 4 vigorous and powerful characters. Tao follows nature, which were written by the contemporary Tanshai of Tanshai Mansion. Lizian wanted to write it himself, but he didn't have the cultural background of teacher Tongnu. The huge Tandi Dojo is as big as 7 or 8 football fields. More than 10,000 people are scattered in 2s and 3s, but it doesn't seem crowded. In the corner of the dojo, several children around 10 years old gathered together and were discussing the dean who had not yet appeared. Hey, I heard from my brother who is serving in the army outside. A short-haired boy broke the so-called exclusive news he heard from others. He said that our dean is 10 meters tall, with a waist circumference of 10 meters as well, and one of his palms is as big as a water tank. There was a ground dragon over 100 meters long causing trouble in their army, and it was flattened by the dean's palm. Now its body has been made into a specimen and is being studied in the laboratory. Some news about the military base in City V was inevitably spread, but by the time it reached the ears of the people, it had long been turned into a myth by gods, and everyone listened to it as a legend, and no one took it seriously. A boy with messy hair beside him sneered, "Hey king, you are almost white-bearded. You are 10 meters tall and your waist is also 10 meters. Let's not talk about whether anyone can grow that tall. If you really grow like this, you will be a ball that is 10 meters long and wide." But that's what my brother said. A king with short hair scratched the back of his head and looked at the girl beside him for help. "Xuang Shuang, what do you think?" "My brother shouldn't lie to me." The girl Xuang Shuang nodded. "Don't listen to Lin Lai. A waist of 10 meters does not mean a waist that is 10 meters wide. Moreover, This statement is an exaggeration to highlight the strength of the dean. Before A Kang nodded, Xuang Shuang continued, "But your brother must have lied to you. I have seen the dean's appearance. He is just like an ordinary person. If there is any characteristic, he is probably more handsome." After saying that, Xuang Shuang flipped out a photo from her hand. It was a photo of Lazai wearing a giant lord's holy clothes with a ruin in the background. It was taken by someone after Lazai fought with Zhang Linhu. After seeing it, Ah Cheng curled his lips. "It's nothing special." Lin Lai's focus was different. "Is this the black suit he's wearing? It looks ordinary, not as good as Iron Man's suit." It can only be said that everyone has different aesthetics. Both put away their phones, smiled and said nothing, letting the two boys continue to criticize the dean they had never met. At the same time, discussions and arguments in the dojo were going on. Although everyone practiced nature is calling, as teenagers, they did not respect or like the dean who wrote this set of exercises, just like a textbook, although he learned a lot from it. Who would like the person who compiled the textbook? This situation continued until Lazai showed up. There was no host to set the stage, and no leader to introduce him. Lazai, wearing a cool black suit, suddenly fell from the sky and landed on the 10-meter-high boulder next to the dojo. The domineering wings behind him flapped violently, and a wave of heat swept through the dojo. All the students were shocked by the hot wind and could not speak. In an instant, the dojo became silent. Lazai curled his lips to show that he was very satisfied with his prank. He cleared his throat and said loudly, "Hello, students. As you can see, I am your Dean Lazai. I am very happy to meet you all." The playground exploded instantly with a roar. Some people were amazed at the heat wave just now, and some people were amazed at Lazai's handsomeness. However, everyone agreed that Lazai looked like a college student, not like an old-fashioned dean at all. "I know you will have doubts in your hearts." Lazai's voice was not loud, but it was clearly heard by everyone present. Even those who were hundreds of meters away could hear every word clearly. "But I don't care. By the way, today is Valentine's Day. I wish you all a happy Valentine's Day. Haha. Happy Valentine's Day. Valentine's Day, lovers." Papa. Chapter 161 Teaching and Educating People. "I don't care if you have doubts or not." Lazai put his hands behind his back, standing on the boulder with an attitude of looking down on the world. "Although you are all rare martial arts prodigies, you are not qualified for me to care about you at the moment." Facing the talented children below, Lazai started a journey of suicidal ridicule. The main reason is that these children are basically born after 1995, and many are even born after 2000. For children of this age, it is a dream to want to influence them with loving education, pamper them, and coax them to be obedient and learn to practice. For them, the most abundant thing in the world is people who pamper them. In the 421 family, before the second child policy was opened, how many people in the family pampered a child? In their worldview, it is natural for the whole world to be good to me, and it is impossible to stay on the ground honestly. If you don't go to the sky to pick stars and embrace the moon, you are not a famous primary school student. So you can't treat them in a flattering way. Lazai won't indulge them. He wants to give them a warning and let them know that they are not the precious ones that everyone needs to pamper and care for. In this world, they are just very small individuals, and in this universe, they are not even dust. By the way, La Yuan does not accept complaints from parents. Any student who cannot adapt to the school situation can apply for withdrawal. Once withdrawn, they will not be recruited again in the future and need to be monitored to a certain extent by the Shinmao Bureau. Of course, the monitoring of dropouts and those who have cultivated their sense of chi but have not enrolled is only temporary. Later, when the students of La Yuan graduate and enter various positions across the country, those people will no longer constitute a dangerous factor of social instability. Whoever dares to make trouble can be killed in minutes. Of course, this is all later. Since you're here, there are some things I can let you know. Lazai waved his hand, and a huge light screen suddenly appeared next to him, and a science fiction movie about aliens began to play on it. This projection technology is not a difficult task for the Shinmao Bureau. After showing the students who didn't understand what was going on for 10 minutes, a video clip of the battle between the Earthlings and the aliens was edited. and Lazia put away the projection. "How was it? What did you think?" The students looked at each other. As naughty kids, they naturally wouldn't keep silent. "The special effects are really rubbish." Someone raised his head, and the people behind him quickly began to complain. "The aliens are so ugly. The way they play is too casual. There is no awareness at all, let alone support. There is no cooperation at all." "Why is that?" Obviously a mage in the front row. "The water pen waves like a sandby." Lazia was very relieved. At least she didn't hear words like "I don't like the patriotic education of the strong X style." No explanation for rubbish. It shouldn't be the Chinese who save the earth. As long as these children don't kneel down, the great celestial empire will have a promising future. However, isn't your focus a bit off? Am I asking you to watch how they fight? I'm asking you to see who the enemy is. Clapping her hands, Lazia drew the children's attention to herself. "You have seen the movie just now. The reason why you can comment on the actions of those people in the movie with a smile on your face is because your subconscious mind tells you that it is a movie. It is fake and made up. But I want to tell you now that aliens really exist. The Earth is just a planet of the Sun. There are more than 120 billion stars in the Milky Way, and there are more than 125 billion galaxies in the entire universe. You are not so naive to think that humans are the only life in this vast universe. When aliens with technology and military power that surpass humans by hundreds, thousands or even tens of thousands of years come to Earth, can you protect yourselves with what you have now? You are just a bunch of weaklings." The children below were silent one by one. Many of them wanted to refute, but they felt that what Lazia said seemed to make sense. Aliens may really exist, and may be much stronger than the people on Earth. If they really come to invade the Earth, then who will be the class beauty's personal master? If you want to protect yourself and those you want to protect from alien invasions that may appear at any time in the future, you must seize the opportunity now and become someone that others look up to, someone who can protect himself and others. After Lazia finished speaking, his body slowly rose into the sky, turned his back to the students, and on his open wings, red flames suddenly burned. In midair, Lazia stretched out his hand, stirred the flames behind him, and swung it fiercely at a bare mountain in the distance. The flames instantly flew across a distance of several hundred meters like a firebird and hit the mountain with a bang. The ground shook and the entire mountain collapsed, scattering into a pile of hot gravel. Turning back, Lazia had no awareness that he had just destroyed the National 5A level scenic spot, and pointed to the disappeared mountain and said to the students below, "Such attacks are just child's play. When you reach a deep level of cultivation, moving mountains and filling the sea will be no problem. The opportunity to become stronger has been given to you. Whether you can grasp it or not depends on you." After saying that, Lazia turned into a ball of fire. After the flames disappeared, his figure also disappeared. "Dean." The dean was cremated. Not far away, Ah Cheng looked at the place where Lazia disappeared and muttered. Lin Lai and Xuang Shuang next to him did not reply. They just stared blankly at the collapsed mountaintop a few hundred meters away, and their hearts were throbbing. With a wave of his hand, the firebirds raged and even the mountains could be easily flattened. This ability is probably already rising to the level of immortal arts. It is said that Nature is Calling was compiled by the dean based on his own practice. Doesn't that mean that all the students who practice will one day become powerful people who can raise their hands and make waves of fire and shake the earth with a wave of their hands? Emma, I am so excited that I want to pee my pants just thinking about it. The dean's super strength makes all the students full of confidence in their future. One day, they will also gain the ability to move mountains and fill the sea, just as the dean said, and become the immortals in legends and novels. Lazia has planted a seed of courage to imagine and respect nature in the hearts of these children, and they will become towering trees that support the future of this country. Instantly moving back to a small room, Lazia patted his chest nervously. "Oh, I was so nervous just now. It was the first time I spoke to so many people. It was more tiring than fighting with Mandarin, because the academy was newly established." Zheng Xian was afraid that these children who had initially comprehended extraordinary energy would be difficult to discipline, so he asked Lazia to act in such a scene. "I don't know what the result will be. Anyway, Lazia feels that it doesn't match his style. He is just a saint CEO who can't help but be funny. Being a dean to teach and educate people seems to be misleading the students. Zheng Xian next to him smiled. It seems that I need to arrange more opportunities like this for you to train well. You represent the image of our Yuan, and there will be many such occasions in the future. Don't. Lazia quickly refused. Brothers Yuan, no. Masters Yuan, if I had known that being the honorary dean requires pretending in front of all the teachers and students in the school, I would not have done it. It's too tiring. This kind of occasion is not suitable for me, and don't look for me again in the future. Compared with this, I prefer to do it directly. Valentine's Day, what a good night. I am still typing at home. Why am I typing at home? I don't know. Humphrey. Chapter 162 Emergency Landing. After more than half a year of returning to China, Lazia finally embarked on the return journey. The flight was from Mississippi to New York. Zheng Xian was too busy to come, so he asked Lao He to send Lazia to P East Airport. In the waiting hall, Lazia casually picked up a copy of the New York Times, wanting to see what good things Parker had done recently. I haven't seen Parker for more than half a year, and I really miss him. Unfortunately, there is no Daily Bugle in the airport. The editor-in-chief of Daily Bugle is a Spider-Man hater. Sometimes it's fun to read Daily Bugle's criticism of Spider-Man. As for why I don't miss Gwen that much, phone sex to find out. Hello, sir, this is the coffee you asked for. With a crisp voice, slender white fingers reached out and put a cup of American coffee on the table. Lazia looked up, but she was surprised. The thin and tall figure was matched with a beautiful face with classical beauty. The most important thing was a pair of commas which turned out to be a perky papaya shape. The cup size was at least G. It's hard to imagine that such a slender figure can support such a heavy burden. This is unscientific. Slightly hardened to show respect. Thank you, Lazia thanked politely, and then retracted her gaze. Although she was very eager, there was still half an hour before boarding, and there was not enough time for foreplay, so she decided not to flirt. Unexpectedly, Lazia did not want to provoke this girl, but she took the initiative to chat with her. First, "Sir, are you on the flight to New York?" Lazia smiled and nodded, and simply put down the newspaper. "Excuse me, if it doesn't disturb your work, can I invite you for a cup of coffee?" Lazia didn't need to turn around, and she could rely on her keen sense to sense that the other clerks behind her were gesturing frantically to the girl in front of her. It seemed that the girl took the initiative to talk just now, and it was instigated by them. The girl did not refuse, and sat down with a slightly red face. "Sir, you are..." Lazia interrupted her quickly. "Don't call me sir, I'm only 18 years old. My name is Lazia. You can call me Yala." At this time, the top girl Zhao Yui had not yet become famous all over the world, and the cute and naughty Zhao Yui was still accumulating strength in Dian Club, so the girl in front of her didn't have too many associations with the name Zhala. "My name is Lei Ling. I'm a sophomore student in the Department of Architecture at Tongji University. I work here during the holidays." Lei Ling pulled the hair by her ears and introduced herself. Although Lazia didn't know that the Department of Architecture at Tongji University ranked among the top 4 in the country, she was still in awe of the name of Tongji University. 985 and 211. For the poor student Lazia, the typing order of these 2 words on the 9-letter keyboard is actually the same. It was an existence that she didn't even dare to look up at. "It seems that my sister is not only a beau cough, but also a top student. I'm so disrespectful." "Haha, it's nothing," Lei Ling said modestly with a smile. "By the way, Yala, what are you doing in the United States, traveling or studying abroad?" "I grew up in the United States, but I'm not a banana person. I must explain this." "Then your English must be very good, right?" Lei Ling finally exposed her purpose. Although her colleagues encouraged her to come over to chat up with young men, for the top student sisters, seizing any opportunity to improve themselves is the key to becoming a female doctoral fighter. Regardless of gender, there are reasons for being single. Next, the conversation between the two changed to English. In his previous life, Lazia had never thought that he could show off his English in front of a beautiful and academic sister. After all, The few sentences he was best at before were just, "Oh, come on, F me," and so on. The two were chatting enthusiastically, and suddenly found that the tarmac outside became busy. At the same time, the radio began to announce that due to special reasons, all future flights were delayed and the departure time would be notified separately. What happened? Passengers and service personnel in the distance whispered to each other. Lazai walked to the glass wall and looked up at the sky. A passenger plane was circling in the sky. Through his super hearing, he heard the conversation of the staff who were cleaning the runway outside from a distance. It turned out that the landing gear of the passenger plane in the air was faulty and there was no way to land normally. It might have to make an emergency landing. The situation seems to be very bad. Lei Ling stood beside Lazai without knowing when. Looking up at the sky, Lazai suddenly felt that the airflow around him became orderly, as if it was controlled by someone. Turning his head to look at Lei Ling, Lazai was a little surprised. Could this little sister who was out of control have some unique tricks? "Excuse me, I have to leave you for a moment." Lei Ling gave Lazai an apologetic smile and left in a hurry. Lazai's mouth curled up. It seemed that something great had happened. This was interesting. The phone in his pocket rang at the right time, and Lazai answered the call. "Hello, Brothers Yan." "Yes, I'm still stranded in the airport terminal." Looking at the sky, Lazai smiled and said, "Don't worry, I'm here, nothing will happen." Putting away the phone, Lazai turned and walked towards the toilet cubicle. Hulong. The toilet flushed down, and Lazai's figure disappeared. In the sky, the passengers on the passenger plane were already in panic. No one had ever encountered such a thing as an emergency landing, but for such a large plane, whether it was rubbing on the runway or forced landing on the sea, their lives could not be 100% guaranteed. The crew on the plane were also scared to death, but they had to pretend to be relaxed to comfort the passengers. If they were all in a mess, the plane would be finished. It would be great if our country also had Iron Man. Sitting in the last row of seats, a young man in his 20s looked out the window absent-mindedly. "Why are Iron Man, Spider-Man and even Saint CEO all from the United States? We have such a large population and such a great country, but there is not even one." "Don't worry, superheroes have never been the patent of any country. Believe me, China will not let you down," a man next to him said. The young man sighed. "How is it possible? Our country is just..." "Hey, who are you? Isn't there a fool milking next to me?" Lazai shrugged. "That guy got carsick and got off halfway." "Are you kidding me? This is a plane, you think it's a bus, and you get off halfway." The young man was directly angry, feeling that his IQ was insulted. "Okay, this is just a joke. Are you not nervous now?" Lazai looked out the window and suddenly shouted, "Look what that is!" Lazai's voice was so loud that everyone in the cabin turned to look out the window. They saw a white figure wearing a light blue transparent cape flying quickly towards the plane in the sunlight. "Is that Iron Man?" The young man turned to Lazai next to him to confirm. Lazai rolled his eyes. "Iron Man is so showy, he definitely wouldn't use this color scheme." "Who is that?" "It should be our own superhero in China." Outside the plane, the white figure flew directly to the bottom of the plane and looked up at the landing gear bay at the front of the plane with the door opened in confusion. "Is this the landing gear failure? I wonder if it can be repaired." The white figure flew into the landing gear bay. This person was Lei Ling, who had talked to Lazai in the terminal hall before, but at this time she was wearing a close-fitting tights, and a transparent windbreaker like an energy shield on the outside, and a pair of papayas were quite eye-catching. Lei Ling discovered a long time ago that she had superpowers. Her superpowers were the ability to sense and control airflow. She could sense objects and people far away through the movement of airflow, fly by controlling airflow, and condense airflow into various weapons. However, because she didn't want to be seen as an alien, she never showed her abilities, and was even troubled by her uniqueness. It was not until the names of superheroes such as Iron Man, Spider-Man, and Electro spread from the other side of the ocean that she re-recognized herself and found that she could use her abilities to help some people. She even gave herself a heroic name, called Cyclone. When she heard about the malfunction of the plane through the airflow, she immediately decided to come up to help, but she was overwhelmed by the densely packed equipment and pipelines and the landing gear compartment. The failure of the landing gear is not at the same level as the chain of a bicycle falling off, and it is not something that can be solved by just anyone. If it doesn't work, we can only use violence to push it open, but I don't know if I can do it with my ability. At this time, the crew on the plane began to perform technical movements under the command of the ground tower, trying to throw the landing gear away. Lei Ling followed the movement of the plane and began to control the airflow to push the landing gear hard. After more than 10 minutes, the plane stopped the futile test. Lei Ling also wiped the sweat from her forehead helplessly. This landing gear designed to withstand hundreds of tons of impact seemed not something she could push. Not only the crew on the plane, but Lei Ling also became nervous. Every minute the plane stayed in the sky, the passengers on the plane were more dangerous. Lei Ling kicked the landing gear helplessly, and was so anxious that she was about to cry. "You should open it quickly." "Can't open it?" Suddenly a voice came from behind, which scared Lei Ling. She turned around and saw a man wearing black armor and a black mask on his face appear behind her. "Don't be nervous, our goals should be the same." This person is naturally Zodiac. After experiencing some turbulence in the cabin, he found that the white figure that flew up could not lower the landing gear, so he teleported out to help. "I don't know what this lady's name is." Lei Ling felt that Zodiac's movements and tone were somewhat familiar, but she couldn't remember where she had seen it for a moment, so she just nodded blankly. "My name is Cyclone." "Cyclone? What a good name." "My name is Suzaku. Don't look at me in black. I'm actually a firebird." Zodiac smiled and stepped forward and patted the landing gear support structure that was more than 1 meter thick. "This thing is too powerful. If you want to open it, I'm afraid you have to find help. We need to think of another way." "Fire." "No, Mr. Suzaku, what should we do now? Do you have any good ideas?" Zodiac shook his head. His ability was mainly in destruction. If he wanted to open this thing without destroying the landing gear structure, he really had no way. "I don't understand it either. It would be great if Tony was here. I know nothing about these mechanical structures." "Can you understand these?" "I'm not a mechanic." Lei Ling shook her chest. Her chest was even more upright in her superhero costume. "By the way, she studied architecture." "Then it seems that we can only make an emergency landing," Zodiac said, looking at the sea below. The airport in S-City was built on the seashore, so it was also a good idea to force the plane to land in the sea. Originally, he thought that if there was no other way, he could use teleportation to take the people on the plane out. However, he was not like Allah, the junior brother of Shin of the Jamal clan in the Hades mythology, who could use teleportation as a group teleportation. If he wanted to take people out, he could only take 3 or 2. Not to mention the long time, and the long distance from the ground would consume a lot of energy and put too much burden on the body. It could only be regarded as the last resort. "By the way, I saw you flew up just now. What is your ability?" "Me?" Lei Ling said without thinking too much. "I can control and sense the airflow." "Control the airflow? Maybe we can do this." Soon, in the cockpit of the plane, the captain received the latest instructions from the tower, forgetting about the landing gear, and landed on the runway according to normal procedures. The captain was anxious when he heard it. "Commander-in-Chief, there are more than 100 Chinese and foreign passengers on the plane." "Don't worry, we have arranged a perfect solution. All you need to do is execute it. This is an order." In the tower, the commander-in-chief hung up the call domineeringly, and then quickly grabbed the mobile phone next to him. "Hey, Lajeng, I have already told the captain that there must be no problems on your side. If more than 100 lives are really in trouble, both of us will be involved." "Don't worry," Zheng Xian's voice came from the phone. "I have sent the most powerful people in our Xinmao bureau. I have confidence in him. You have to believe me. When have I ever cheated you?" With the sound of whistling, a silver plane dived towards the runway. The people in the tower looked over nervously, but found that the front landing gear of the plane had been opened and the fault was solved. "No." The commander-in-chief holding the telescope was a little puzzled. "Why does that landing gear look transparent?" In the high-power telescope, the appearance of the landing gear was vaguely visible, and it looked crystal clear in the sun from a distance, like an ice sculpture. The commander-in-chief guessed correctly. The landing gear was an ice sculpture made by Lazai using cold air. It was not as delicate as a real landing gear. It was just a huge wheel made of ice under the cabin, which temporarily served as the landing gear. When the plane rushed to the runway, the ice wheel served as the landing gear to support the plane to slide. Lazai was responsible for ensuring that the ice wheel would not disintegrate due to collision and friction. Lei Ling was responsible for using airflow to maintain the balance of the plane to prevent the plane from rolling over due to bumps or skidding. In the end, with the cooperation of everyone, the plane stopped safely on the runway without any problems. Even the dozens of fire trucks and engineering vehicles prepared in advance were not used. When the plane stopped steadily, there was a huge cheer in the tower control room. Everyone looked excited, as if they had just saved the world. Does this shot look familiar? The passengers on the plane walked down the ladder with the joy of surviving the disaster on their faces. But the huge ice wheel under the cabin made their joy mixed with some confusion. On the rooftop of the terminal, Lazai sighed from afar. It seems that we have saved more than 100 people, but behind this, there must be hundreds or even thousands of people who have avoided the grief of losing their loved ones. Yes, Lei Ling nodded, blushing a little. Mr. Suzaku, can you let me go first? You are covering me like this and I can't breathe, and you are hitting me. After the plane stopped, in order to avoid unnecessary trouble, the two of them used Lazai to teleport Lei Ling out of the landing gear bay, but due to the limited space, their positions were a little ambiguous. Oh, sorry. Lazai loosened his hands and took a step back. The situation was urgent just now. I didn't pay attention, sorry, and my armor is a bit hard. That, the rose is loose, and the hand is fragrant. Lei Ling turned around and faced Lazai. Let's go. I'll buy you a cup of coffee. The cup you just had may have been cold. Lazai touched his face, and the mask fell off at some point. People with good looks are called flirting, and people without good looks are called hooligans. This is really a beautiful world. The domestic chapter is officially over, and the next chapter returns to Marvel. A different Avengers 1 is about to be staged. Stay tuned. Thank you all for your indulgence. Thank you for the 500 reward from Jinger's Guardian Angel. Thank you for the 200 reward from G. Ling. Thank you for the reward from the Goddess's Pope. Thank you for the reward from Book Friend 20190205155351167. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 163, A World Ago. At the New York airport, Lazai just walked out of the passage and saw Parker's long face grinning from afar. After not seeing each other for more than half a year, it seemed like a lifetime ago. Parker didn't seem to have changed much, and his smile was still caring and kind. Whoosh, a white shadow flew over, and Lazai hugged it with both hands, and bit down along the pair of upturned lips. The saliva stirred in the mouth, and the tongues were like two long snakes that didn't look at each other, constantly hitting each other's bodies, entangled together, pulling hard, and wishing to swallow each other into the stomach. After all, phone sex can't make up for the emptiness in the body. After not seeing each other for half a year, Gwen didn't know how she got through it. It was as if there was a powder keg in her body that had been lit with a fuse and could explode at any time. Her indescribable body urgently needed a hearty and exciting fuck to fill it. Gwen didn't get off Lazai until the three of them got in the car. If it weren't for the wrong occasion, the two would have started fighting. Parker was driving, and reluctantly bent the rear-view mirror in the car to a place where he couldn't see. I said, "Can't you be more reserved and care about my feelings, okay? Do you want me to stop the car and make room for you?" There was a sound of eating ice cream from the back. The two were challenging the Guinness World Record for kissing time, and had no time to answer Parker's question. Parker suddenly felt so lost, feeling like a wife whose man was taken away by a mistress, watching the mistress and the man having sex next to him. He was heartbroken but couldn't leave. Instead he helped push his butt on the side. This feeling is simply too bad. After finally insisting on driving the car into the garage, Parker slammed the door and got out of the car, closing the garage door by the way. Picking up the phone, Parker dialed a number. "Hello, Jessica, where are you? I'll come find you right away." "Nothing. I just missed you." Parker met Lizzie again 3 days later. The two sat on the sofa in the office board. There was a cup of water on the table in front of them. The water was filled with wolfberries that Lizzie brought back from China. The orange-red water looked very nourishing. "Did your trip back to China go well?" Parker slumped on the sofa and didn't want to move. He was stimulated by Lizzie and had consumed a lot of energy in the past few days. "It's okay. I met a lot of friends. I'll introduce you to them when I have the chance." Lizzie slumped in the same position. No matter how good her waist is, she can't beat a fairy. No, it should be called a waist spirit. Gwen, who had been away for half a year, threw away all her reserve and conservatism. In 3 days, she squeezed Lizzie's energy almost without sleep. Except for the necessary food and water, they almost never got out of bed. This energy process is very beautiful and happy, but afterwards, Lizzie felt that she was really hollowed out. "Okay, it should be fun to be called a friend by you." Parker didn't even bother to nod his head, staring blankly at the ceiling. "Are there any big news in New York recently?" Lizzie turned his head. "You know, I'm not talking about Spider-Man showed up at a bar and officially announced his coming out." Lizzie was talking about a report in the Daily Bugle that Gwen showed him as a joke during the morning sage time. The picture was a boy in a Spider-Man costume spraying white liquid on another boy's face and stuffing a hot dog into the mouth of the squatting boy. If the picture was the original picture, it would be fine, but after mosaicing it was unbearable to look at. Parker rolled his eyes. "I sent a lot of self-taken Spider-Man photos to the Daily Bugle newspaper, but they always made them look weird and added some disgusting pictures. I seriously suspect that their editor-in-chief has a grudge against me." "It's nothing," Lizzie comforted. "You'll get used to it slowly." "By the way, why didn't I see Max? Did he sneak into the power plant to steal electricity again?" As a big power consumer, Max likes to wander around along the current in his spare time, charging while finding out some secrets. Sometimes his efficiency is even higher than that of the little hacker Hyde, but I don't know if this will have any bad effects on his character, such as cultivating a voyeur. As he was talking, a blue arc suddenly emerged from the socket in the office, and the arc slowly gathered into a human shape in the air. It was Max the Electric Man. "Hey, old Mac, I was just talking about you, and you're here." "This speed is faster than Cow. Lizzie greeted with a smile. After not seeing each other for more than half a year, Max's somewhat scary blue face actually looked a bit cute. "Welcome back." Max heard that Lizzie had returned, but they had not met yet. When he stretched out his hand to shake Lizzie's hand, Max leaked a trace of weak electricity, which turned Lizzie's hair into a plasma perm. "Wash, cut and blow dry." Some hands trembled. "This welcome gift is special enough. I'll tell you something. You will never guess it." Max let go of his hand and said excitedly, "Oh, I really can't guess it." The two people opposite shrugged in unison. The difference was that Lizzie was trembling slightly. "I wanted to tell you the news about Captain America, but since you don't want to know, forget it." Max shrugged and spread his hands with a cold face, and half of his body began to turn into electricity and rushed into the socket. "Wait a minute." A spider silk stuck to the socket, and Parker jumped up from the sofa and grabbed Max's arm that had not yet completely turned into electricity. "You said the news about the captain? What news?" "The captain's body was found." Lizzie also sat up straight from the sofa, obviously very concerned about the news. Captain America is Parker and Lizzie's common idol. He is the symbol of the United States and a hero of the world. Every child who grew up in the United States basically grew up listening to the stories of Steve Rogers and his companions, the Howling Commandos. Of course, in these stories, good friend Bucky Barnes and the villain boss scientist Red Skull also occupy a large part. From childhood to adulthood, even after being crushed by the cold reality, they dream of becoming a hero like Captain America who saves the world. Although the ending of Heroes is mostly accompanied by heroic sacrifice, Captain America's body has not been found even after 60 or 70 years. Now, Max suddenly mentioned that there was news about Captain America, and Parker naturally thought of his body. Only Liziane, who has seen the movie, knows that Max is very likely to have inquired about the news about Captain America himself. Sure enough, Max said excitedly, "No, Captain is still alive. I just got a top-secret information from SHIELD that they found Captain's frozen body in the Arctic. After fishing Captain out, they miraculously discovered that his body functions were intact. He has now completely thawed and is undergoing recovery treatment somewhere. The Captain is not dead?" This sudden news made Parker extremely excited. He somersaulted onto Liziane, grabbed his collar and shouted, "Did you hear that?" Max said, "Captain is not dead. We will be able to see our idol soon. Watch out for my waist." Liziane struggled to get Parker off her body. "Peter, pay attention. You are also an idol of many Americans now. You must have some idol baggage. Otherwise your fans will feel embarrassed." Parker didn't care at all. He turned around and shouted to Max, "Max, help me find where Captain is. I want to go visit him." Turning back, Parker muttered, "What do you think we should take with us? We have a complete set of collectible comics and cards. How about bringing them and asking Captain to sign for us?" Parker pulled Liziane to the pilgrimage without even asking for her opinion, and Liziane didn't feel bad about it. However, Liziane disagreed with Parker's words. "I think it would be better for us to bring a fruit basket or something when we go to visit a patient." "Yes." Parker clapped his hands vigorously. "With so many cards and comics, we need a larger fruit basket." Liziane couldn't help but cover her face. "Did you misunderstand something?" Chapter 164 I Need You. In the SHIELD office building in New York, a small room was temporarily built in the middle of a secret room. The room was decorated to look like an old rehabilitation center, and curtains were used outside the windows to simulate the New York City scene in the 1940s. This is where Captain America Steve Rogers received rehabilitation treatment. Captain America closed his eyes and opened them for nearly 70 years, and no one knew what his reaction would be when he woke up. After all, this world has changed too much compared to his time, and the people he knew are basically dead. Even those who are still alive are too old to move, and it is inconvenient to visit him on site. The setting here is just to let him see familiar scenes when he wakes up without taking any radical actions. And there is no malice. Max relied on his special habits to finally find out where Captain America was. After discussing with Liziane, Parker disguised himself as a special police officer and mixed in, like two little fans of star chasing. Anyway, they are skilled and brave, and they can easily escape even if they are discovered. Everything seemed to go smoothly during the infiltration process until the two came to the outside of the secret room and passed through a heavily guarded door to the secret room where Captain America was. Liziane stopped. Parker quietly pushed him and whispered, "Hurry up. If you stop, we'll be exposed." Liziane shook his head. "We've already been exposed." Not far away, a black boiled egg was lowering its head, staring at this side with one eye. The white of its eyeball was dazzling. "The situation is not good. Retreat quickly." Seeing this, Liziane wanted to turn around and pull Parker away quickly. Unexpectedly, Fury came over calmly, stopped beside Liziane and said, "Why, you are so free today, come to visit us." Liziane spread her hands. "We are fans of the Captain. We heard that he is here. We want to come and pay homage." Fury turned his head and looked at Liziane in surprise. "How did you know that the Captain is here? Has our SHIELD's intelligence department become a sieve?" Liziane sighed. "Brother, stop playing. How do you know how we know? You don't know. If you really don't know, you wouldn't block me here." The first time Liziane saw Fury, she knew that they were exposed. Otherwise Fury would not be waiting for him here leisurely. And I am afraid that Max's self-righteous action of eavesdropping on SHIELD's intelligence has long been discovered by SHIELD. But for some reason, SHIELD did not directly arrest and control Max. Fury shrugged. "Let's go to my office to talk. You are the boss here. You have the final say." Liziane nodded in agreement. "People are the butchers and I am the fish." Liziane is here to make a pilgrimage, not to cause trouble, and chatting will not make her pregnant. "Your friend?" Parker came over and asked. He had never seen Fury and didn't know his identity. "You go in first. I'll go out and talk to him." Liziane patted Parker on the shoulder. "Don't worry, it's okay." "Then why don't you go in and see?" Parker felt a little regretful that they couldn't make the pilgrimage together. Lazia shook her head. I won't go in yet. There will be plenty of opportunities in the future. Parker thought about it and sighed. Then I won't go either. Think about it carefully. Captain America lying on the hospital bed is not what we want to see. Parker was right. Captain America should always be a monumental hero in the hearts of fans, not a glass man lying on the bed with tubes inserted all over his body. Mr. Parker, Fury looked at Parker. You and your friend can just walk around here first. I have something to discuss with Mr. Lazia alone. My friend? Parker pointed at Lazia, pretending to be ignorant. Isn't he? No. Fury shook his egg. It's your friend who plays video games. Peter, let old Mac come out. We've been discovered. After Lazia instructed Parker, he followed Fury to his office upstairs. Did you go back to China some time ago? Fury asked in the elevator. Yeah. Lazia looked outside the elevator. This elevator was similar to a sightseeing elevator. You could see the street view outside. Outside was Times Square. Are you getting along well with them? Fury's one eye stared at Lazia's profile. Lazia tilted her head. Why, Mr. Director, haven't you found out what I've done? When the elevator door opens, there won't be a whole team of soldiers pointing weapons at me. Fury's mouth moved, and he said with a fake smile, a senior advisor to the Intelligence Department directly under the Prime Minister of China, and the Honorary Dean of the Academy of Supernatural Powers. Isn't it worth my careful preparation? After hearing Fury reveal his new identity, Lazia felt relieved. If Fury had kept it to himself, it would have been more frightening. SYNOPSIS is affiliated with the International Security Council, and China is a permanent member of the Security Council. So, in theory, there is no conflict between me joining the Chinese department and SYNOPSIS, right? You'd better pray that everyone thinks so. The elevator door opened, and Fury walked out first. Lazia followed with a smile. There was no one outside the door, not even a hair, let alone soldiers. Fury actually wanted to win Lazia over to join S.H.I.E.L.D. After all, he was a little worried if he didn't have a high-end combat force that was stronger than Iron Man, could tie with the Mad Hulk, and even lift the legendary Thor's hammer in his hands. But he was not a narrow-minded nationalist, and fortunately, Lazia joined the Chinese department. Although the Chinese representative didn't talk much in the International Security Council, he always had a big-picture view and was not very extreme. After closing the elevator door, Fury walked to the safe and took out a document and handed it to Lazia. This thing was found by Howard Stark in the process of looking for the captain. Lazia opened the document and found a photo inside. The photo showed a transparent cube with a blue glow, which was the cosmic cube. Fury continued to explain, this thing contains powerful energy. If we can understand its principle and develop it, we may be able to obtain endless energy. Lazia closed the folder. So, why tell me? I think Tony should be more interested in this thing. And although he is unreliable, he can also provide some ideas for your research. I am just a poor student. I am afraid I can't help you. Fury shook his head. You don't have to worry about the research. I want to talk to you for something else. Lazia shrugged and waited for the next words. The energy of this thing is very unstable, and it will emit gamma rays to the outside world from time to time, which is likely to attract the covetousness of enemies, and these enemies are likely to come from outer space. Fury said with a slightly nervous look, we need someone who has the ability to protect this thing, but is not in the S.H.I.E.L.D. sequence. I need you. You are the most suitable. Clang, clang. Suddenly, the alarm outside rang, and a woman's nervous voice came from the intercom on the table. Attention, all units, code 13. Repeat, attention, all units, code 13. Oh no. Fury ran out the door. Lazia followed him, and through the window, she could see from a distance that the downstairs was in a turmoil. A strong figure was rushing through the crowd, and the special police officers who tried to intercept him were knocked all over the place. Chapter 165 Meeting the Idol. From Lazia's perspective, he could only see the man's back. He was wearing a simple white t-shirt, and his well-developed muscles on his back outlined a tight inverted triangle. I have to admit that Captain America's figure is really good. Even a straight man like Lazia can't help drooling. Strong but sexy. Sexy but not greasy. That man is undoubtedly the Captain America who has just woken up, the handsome man and the hunky man in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The captain was intercepted by many agents on the way out of the makeshift rehabilitation center, but those people were carried away by his strong shoulders. The people behind him who couldn't catch up with the captain's speed had no choice but to aim the tranquilizer gun in their hands at his back and pulled the trigger without hesitation. Whoosh! The anesthetic needle passed through the crowd and pierced straight into the captain's back, but was blocked by a round shield with red and blue stripes and a white five-pointed star in the middle, a few dozen centimeters away. Hey, 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 sneak attacks from behind are not advisable, not to mention that your target is a hero. A playful voice came from behind the round shield. The round shield was pulled away, revealing Spider-Man in a red and blue suit. Parker had imagined the scene of meeting Captain America countless times in his dreams. Even after becoming Spider-Man, he would still feel regretful for not being born in the same era as Captain America. So when he really saw the real Captain America, he subconsciously stood beside him. Upstairs in the distance, Lazia looked at Parker, who was wearing a red and blue uniform and holding Captain America's round shield, and there was no sense of disobedience in the color matching. She couldn't help but wonder if she copied the color of Captain America's clothes when she designed the battle suit. Well, the colors of the uniforms of both of them came from the stars and stripes, so there was no problem of plagiarism. While Parker was holding the shield, the captain had already run forwards for a distance. An extreme sense of insecurity made him want to escape from here, but there were already people standing around, and there were quite a few holding spears. The captain stopped helplessly, looking around for a suitable breakthrough. Suddenly, a familiar sound of breaking through the air came from behind him. He instinctively reached back and grabbed the flying round shield in his hand. This round shield was very light. It was just an aluminum alloy souvenir that Parker bought at a comic book store. It was not comparable in weight and defense to the vibranium shield that Captain America had used before. But when the shield was in hand, Captain America's temperament changed completely. Before, he was just a trapped beast who wanted to escape from the cage, with confusion and distress in his eyes. But now, he has become the veteran who has been on the battlefield for a long time again, with a firm and resolute look in his eyes. No matter how many people are blocking him, he is enough with one shield. Seeing the change in Captain America's eyes, the agents around him also felt the pressure. Moreover, Spider-Man didn't know why he appeared here. If the two of them joined forces, even if this passage was full of people, they might not be able to stop them. After throwing the shield, Parker jumped behind Captain America and stood back to back with him. "Nice to meet you, Captain. I'm your fan." "Welcome back." "Thank you. Nice to meet you too." Captain America responded politely. The uniformed Spider-Man behind him was obviously not an ordinary person. It's just that the current occasion was not suitable for a long conversation. "Captain, I think we need a plan." Parker looked helplessly at the increasing number of agents around him. He didn't want to hurt anyone. He just wanted to protect Captain America's back. Captain America had observed and found the weak point of the enemy's defense. He tightened his round shield and prepared to attack. "Stop, everyone." Fury appeared in time, stretched out his hand to calm the nervous agents around him, and came to Captain America. "Relax, Captain," and Spider-Man. Although Fury's black face looked a bit fierce, his strong aura gave people a strong sense of trust. Parker waved politely. "I apologize for the terrible performance just now, but we think we need to give you some time to slowly adapt." "Adapt to what?" Captain America unconsciously clenched the shield in his hand. His subconscious told him that something very bad seemed to have happened. "You have been sleeping, Captain," Fury said in a deep voice, "for nearly 70 years." If Captain didn't like to swear, he would have immediately sprayed out, "WTF, what the hell are you kidding me?" His consciousness was still before the plane crash. He made an appointment with Agent Peggy Carter through the intercom to go to the nightclub to dance next Saturday. As a result, 70 years passed in the blink of an eye. Although sleeping for 70 years sounds a bit far-fetched, the surrounding displays and people's clothes also made Captain America realize that he might have slept for a long time. I still owe someone a date." Captain America put down the shield helplessly. His mission was to protect and guard. After figuring out his situation, he had no reason to take action again. "What about you, Spider-Man?" Fury looked at Parker next to him. Parker shrugged. "I listened to the captain." Fury's expression changed, and he couldn't help but look up at Lazai upstairs. Seeing Fury's eyes from afar, Lazai had a playful smile on her face. Fury had an idea of what he was thinking, which was nothing more than pulling all the superheroes into SHIELD and becoming a superhero team under his unified supervision and coordination. That is, the Avengers. But before that, although Iron Man Tony Stark was persuaded, it was almost impossible to control him with his arrogant personality. Hulk was even harder to control. He was a time bomb. Even if he was to be used, there had to be a contingency plan to prevent him from getting angry and killing his own people. The entry of Abomination into the team might have been ruined by Tony, and General Ross had already decided to lock him up until death. Thor, well, as a god, Thor's whereabouts were difficult to grasp. No, it shouldn't be difficult, but it was impossible to grasp at all. Who would find a person who you would never find unless he came to find you as a subordinate and make things difficult for themselves? The remaining Widow and Hawkeye are very easy to use, but their strength is not good. After all, these two are ordinary people, and their fighting style is more inclined to agents. Hawkeye's multiple arrows can be used as strong support, but it is too easy to be targeted, and its mobility is too weak. The most important thing is that these two people don't want to do it because of Lazai. I almost lost two generals. Combining these situations, Fury's road to joining the Avengers is much more bumpy than in the movie. He is also more enthusiastic about the unexpected appearance of Spider-Man and Electro. But because these two people are close to Lazai, Fury feels that he may be defeated, so he has never come forward to win them over. Now, the appearance of Captain America has given Fury an opportunity to turn Spider-Man against the enemy. "Thank you for the 4,000 reward. Thank you friends for your concern. Thank you." Chapter 166, Prelude to Invasion. Although he guessed Frey's thoughts, Lexia was not worried. The relationship between him and Parker could not be shaken by the appearance of two idols, even if this person was Captain of the United States. It was not necessarily that he could not fight for him. As long as he found the Winter Soldier to control it, the U.S. team had to run over. The time came to adapt and learn, but it was basically impossible for a person to betray the country and the people who had worked hard to participate in 5 cities to join for 5 cities. Later, it was basically impossible to betray the country and the people of World War II heroes. Back in Fury's office, Fury and Lazai sat opposite each other on the sofa, each holding a cup of coffee. After taking a sip and putting down the coffee cup, Fury stared with his one eye and said, "I heard that Captain America was your and Spider-Man's idol when we were children?" Lazai shook his head. "To be exact, he still is." "Oh." Fury leaned back on the sofa. "Captain America will join our shield." Lazai smiled and raised the cup in his hand. "Then congratulations in advance." "So you don't have anything to say?" "What to say?" Lazai thought for a while, looked at the cup in his hand and said, "The coffee is well brewed." Fury sat up from the sofa. "Have you ever thought about fighting side by side with your idol, and fighting for the Earth, which does not conflict with the philosophy of Saint Seiya?" Although he tried all methods and could not find any information about the Saint Seiya and the Sanctuary, Fury did not rule out the possibility of the existence of the Sanctuary in his heart. And he never gave up the idea of pulling Lazai, the Saint Seiya, into the Avengers. Another point is that due to Hawkeye's passive resistance, the military research base where the Cosmic Cube is located is lacking strong enough protection, and Fury has been a little worried about this. Lazai put down the coffee cup, looked up at Fury. "When evil invades the Earth, I will naturally join my idol on the battlefield against evil. But I don't need anyone to tell me what justice is, nor do I need any organization to define whether my position is justice. If I have to join an organization to prove my identity, then the position of the organization itself is problematic." And a very important point is that, Mr. Director, you can only represent yourself. You cannot represent SHIELD. "Thank you for the coffee. If there is nothing else, I'll leave first." Lazai got up and walked out. Fury said helplessly behind him, So it's still those things that make you resent us? Barton has applied for retirement, and you know that the Avengers and SHIELD are not the same thing. Lazai was a little surprised that Hawkeye would apply for retirement. Isn't it said that agents are a group of killing machines who have no emotions and only know how to execute orders? Could it be that after having a wife and children, Barton began to doubt his work and life? Moreover, if Barton retired before the plot of Avengers 1 began, wouldn't it mean that the hero Hawkeye was directly deleted? Lazai shook his head. I don't care about the past anymore. Please tell him for me that although I still haven't forgiven his behavior at that time, I respect his way of obeying orders. So, if the world needs him, I hope he will still be the Hawkeye who never misses. Also, my words and actions only represent myself. Looking at Lazai's back as he left, Fury thought about the meaning of his last sentence, and his eyes suddenly lit up. The subtext of this sentence was that Lazai's idea of not joining S.H.I.E.L.D. only represented himself, and Spider-Man and Electro were completely up to them. Spider-Man and Electro's ideas were indeed completely up to them, but when Parker learned that Lazai rejected S.H.I.E.L.D.'s invitation, he declined Fury without hesitation. Even if Fury brought up the power of his idol Captain America, he failed to impress Parker. Max naturally followed Parker's lead and rejected Fury without hesitation. Fury was a little confused. Was it because of his bad luck that no decent superhero had been brought into the Avengers until now? Lazai waited in the parking lot for less than a cigarette, and saw Parker and Max walking out, talking and laughing. After getting in the car, Parker shouted excitedly, "Zion, you just saw it. I fought side by side with the captain. Oh, the scene I imagined in my dreams actually came true." Lazai nodded. "You threw the shield very accurately, and the captain caught it very comfortably." "Yeah, I practiced for a long time." On the way home, neither of them mentioned Fury's invitation to them to join SHIELD. There is no need to ask or explain some things. He understands you. That's enough. In a distant universe, a person who should have died took a scepter from someone else with both hands. The blue light on the scepter illuminated the man's face. It was Loki who fell from the Rainbow Bridge. The one who gave him the scepter was Thanos' lackey, the leader of the Chitauri. At the end of the Battle of the Destroyers in the suburbs of New York City, Thor regained his power as the god of thunder and returned to Asgard with Thor's hammer. The subsequent plot was not much different from the movie. Loki's good play of killing his biological father to show his loyalty to his adoptive father was destroyed by Thor. After the two fought on the Rainbow Bridge, the Rainbow Bridge broke, and Loki gave up treatment and fell off the Rainbow Bridge. However, as the son of Odin, a powerful Aesir, Loki fell off the Rainbow Bridge but did not die, but got together with the Chitauri. Loki, who seemed to be suicidal, was still unwilling in his heart. He would not miss any opportunity to trouble his adoptive father and brother. When Fury began to study the cosmic cube and tried to develop new energy and weapons, the Chitauri, as Thanos' lackeys, discovered the traces of the cube and prepared to send people to the Earth to open the space gate, and Loki gladly accepted this task. In return, the Chitauri will hand over the Earth to Loki to rule after flattening it. Loki went to Earth with the scepter inlaid with the mind gem, while the Chitauri army was ready to go. Behind the throne, the purple potato spirit smiled with a confident smile. "Please give me a recommendation vote. The data is a bit miserable." Chapter 167 Research Base. In the blue sky, a private plane was flying high in the sky. Lazai was sitting on the sofa flipping through several books. The information was given by Fury. It contained records and conjectures about the origin of the cosmic cube, including mythological versions, historical versions, and science fiction conjectures. Lazai was reading and laughing. On the table in front of her was a helmet with a funny face. The eyes of the helmet were shining, and it was obviously turned on. "What, is the thing written in the report funny?" Tony's voice came from the helmet. "This plane belongs to Tony, and the helmet is naturally Iron Man's helmet. Tony is currently studying long-distance control systems, and using the helmet as a communicator is just one of his experimental projects. Later, he also plans to experiment with long-distance control of the battlesuit, as well as the automatic navigation and automatic dressing systems of the battlesuit. Whether it is software or hardware, The Iron Man suit cannot lose to Lazia's holy suit. Well, nothing. The report said that it was originally said that cosmic magic was a treasure that Odin stored on the earth. I was wondering, why did Odin put such a powerful thing on the earth? Wouldn't it be safer to put it in his treasure house? Maybe he thinks it's safer on the earth? Tony said casually. Anyway, with the wisdom of the earthlings, it is impossible to truly develop the power of this thing. Lazia thought to himself. Maybe Odin really thinks so? After all, the last time Odin appeared on the earth should be more than 1,000 years ago when he fought with the frost giants, and the place where they fought was where the Red Skull later found the cosmic cube. The Nordic people more than 1,000 years ago should not have been able to truly develop the power of the cosmic cube, and for some reason, the Asgardians didn't like to keep all of the treasures in their own treasure house. Later, the ether particles, reality gems, were handed over to collectors for safekeeping. Odin built a super war machine, the Destroyer, to protect his own treasure house, but he liked to send some powerful things to some unreliable people and places for storage. I don't know if this practice was because the loss of an eye hurt the brain nerves. Sir, your coffee, the stewardess said on the side. Thank you. Lazia smiled politely. Can you please get me a straw? I need 3. The coffee is hot, so of course you can't drink it with a straw. So what's the reason for the straw? Sister Yang thought she understood what Lazia meant, and turned to get the straw. This little brother's smile is so handsome. I really want to be with him. Sir, your straw. Thank you. You go ahead. I'll call you if there's anything. Lazia took the straw and ignored Sister Yang. Those who can be favored by Tony must be experienced in the battlefield. Just like in Iron Man 1, he boasted that he slept with 12 models on the cover of a well-known monthly magazine in December of one year. As we all know, the modeling industry, especially foreign models, can only be described as a private life with a haha. The men they have slept with must be no less than the women Tony has slept with. Tony may have an extra row of brothers-in-law every day, and Leo is about the same, regardless of whether Tony was happy with it or not. Lazia couldn't accept it in her heart. Ignoring Sister Yang's resentful look, Lazia directly held the 3 straws in his hands with both hands, aligned one end, and slightly separated the other ends, then sat upright, raised his hands to his forehead, and bowed to the helmet on the table. Hey, 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 Tony's exasperated voice came from the helmet. Don't think I don't know what you mean. I have also watched the worship ceremony in Chinatown. Oh, what are you talking about? Why don't I understand? Lazia inserted the straw into the gap of the helmet's forehead without changing his expression, and took a sip of coffee with satisfaction. The placement of this helmet really looks like a pig's head on the New Year's altar, and Lazia can't help herself. I'm telling you, you bastard, I'm learning Chinese. Don't even think about it. Wait a minute, Lazia interrupted Tony. Have you ever thought about designing some aggressive shapes for your helmet, like my armor helmet, like the trident of Aquaman or something like that? Don't change the subject. I mean, you can really try it. You always have to try to change. Why don't you design your helmet into the shape of shit? How do you know I haven't thought about it? Time passed quietly in the quarrel between the two. Even without Sister Yang's negative distance air service, Lazia was still very happy. It was already evening when they arrived at the destination. Before the plane landed, Lazia saw a large area of low-rise buildings on the ground, and countless radars in the distance were holding huge signal-receiving pot covers. This is a dark energy research center under SHIELD, which is the place where Fury said he was studying the cosmic cube. The best destination for the cosmic cube is of course to provide energy for human society. Compared with the short history of mankind, its energy can almost be said to be inexhaustible. However, everyone who gets her is unwilling to use her as just energy like electricity. They always spend a lot of effort to study the secrets and develop energy weapons with super attack power. During World War II, Red Skull did this. Now that the cosmic cube is in the hands of S.H.I.E.L.D., S.H.I.E.L.D.'s approach is not much different from Red Skull and Hydra. The so-called energy development is just a cover, but behind the scenes, they are developing new energy weapons code-named Phase 2. Of course, there is still a difference between Fury and Red Skull. Red Skull creates matter to rewrite war and conquer the world. Fury, on the other hand, is preparing for a rainy day in order to confront aliens. Putting aside shields, but Fury's character is still worthy of recognition, so when he invited Zodiac to protect the cosmic cube, Zodiac agreed after a little thought. The main reason is that Zodiac is quite interested in the cosmic cube. Inside the cosmic cube is the space stone, one of the infinity stones, and the infinity stones are refined from the essence of the Big Bang, and contain the purest cosmic energy. The microcosm is also the power inherited from the Big Bang in all things after the Big Bang. If we use fantasy to explain the microcosm and the infinite gems, compare the Saint Seiya to the immortal cultivator, and the microcosmic perception to the realm of immortal cultivation, then the infinite gems are the only few pure innate and top-grade spiritual stones in the world, and the energy contained in one stone is enough for many people to be ranked in the immortal class at the same time. Zodiac's arrival was not a big fanfare, but a tall black-haired and blue-eyed sister came out to greet him symbolically. After all, he is the guardian of the cosmic cube, and it doesn't hurt to be Loki. Hello, I'm Maria Hill. I came to greet you on the order of the director, and I will be responsible for your action arrangements later. Zodiac smiled and shook hands with Hill. Hi, Miss Hill. Do you know Ted? What? Hill had a black question mark face. Oh, nothing. Hi, have you met Ted? Chapter 168. Have some fun. The entire base had been hollowed out, and a huge laboratory was built nearly 100 meters underground. Various equipment and instruments filled the laboratory, which was several thousand square meters in size. In the center of the venue, there was a bracket, and the cosmic cube was sandwiched in the middle, connected to the equipment and instruments surrounded by lines. Several scientists in white coats were conducting some experiments that Zodiac could not understand. The leader was a tall middle-aged man, Eric Selvig. This guy was the scientist who discovered Thor with Jane in Thor 1-inch. It is said that he is a friend of Bruce Banner. In this world, because of Zodiac, Thor came to Earth and ran directly to New York with Jane, so Eric did not have much communication with Thor, and it was unknown whether he would run naked in the future. But unfortunately, he was still found by Fury and Loki at the same time. Standing in the dark with Hill, Zodiac looked at Eric from a distance. Dr. Selvig is a genius astronomer, and he has made great achievements in the research of Foster theory and Rosenbridge theory. With his help, we are making good progress, and I believe that we will get results soon. Hill explained beside him. Zodiac scratched the back of her head. Sister, what do those two words mean? Hill shrugged. Who knows? The two smiled at each other, feeling a sense of mutual appreciation. Compared with Hill's optimism, Zodiac felt a little uneasy. There was a familiar little universe in Eric. If Zodiac guessed correctly, that little universe was the divine power that Loki used to induce Eric. Loki did not need to possess Eric or directly control him. He only needed to whisper in his ear to influence his decision. This was Loki's magic ability, which was also the little universe from Zodiac's perspective. Of course, Loki's induction magic was not the root cause of Zodiac's uneasiness. What really made him uneasy was the cosmic cube. From Zodiac's perspective, the cosmic cube was a small universe that was so powerful that it was dazzling, so powerful that he dared not look directly at it. Zodiac guessed that this was probably about the same level as Apollo, the sun god in the Saint Seiya world. The most important thing is that such a powerful energy is held in the hands of a group of people who can't control it at all, and these people are constantly teasing her. Although it is not shown in the movie, Zodiac is really worried that the cosmic cube will be impatient with Eric's teasing and explode directly. With her energy level, I am afraid that the Earth will hardly be spared. Ignorance is really fearless. Watching the researchers constantly using various things to poke the Rubik's Cube, Zodiac prayed in fear that the world must follow the plot in the movie, and the cosmic cube will wait quietly for Loki to come. Taking advantage of the interval between experiments, Zodiac tried to communicate with the cosmic cube with the small universe, but the result made him frustrated. Although in theory, the energy of the Infinity Stone should be of the same type as the small universe, the result is deviated. It's like a magician got a spirit stone. Although the spirit stone contains energy, it cannot absorb magic power because of the different cultivation system. However, Zodiac would rather believe that her realm was too low, and she forced herself to step down. If it was the small universe of the eighth sense, she should be able to feel the power in the cosmic cube. Thinking this way, Lazia felt a little better. It was better to have a low realm than to have no chance to touch it. The following days were spent slowly in the bold attempts of the researchers and Lazia's fear. During this period, Lazia was not prohibited from visiting the so-called second phase weapon prototype. It was not that S.H.I.E.L.D. was 100% confident in Lazia, but these weapons were developed based on the cosmic cube. Even if Lazia took out the design drawings, it would still be impossible to make usable weapons without the cube. Unable to touch the cube, Lazia had to wait patiently. However, the boring days became a little exciting after the arrival of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s trump card. Because S.H.I.E.L.D. sent not only Hawkeye, but also Black Widow, who walked with a fragrant breeze. Although you don't have to do something with Black Widow, it's also very happy to chat and exchange fighting skills every day. There are not many entertainment activities in the base, but Black Widow can always find topics and entertainment activities that Lazia is interested in. In the end, both of them had a great time. Hey, just to say something off topic, sometimes those who look very bold on the outside may have very conservative thoughts. With Black Widow as a middleman, the relationship between Lazia and Hawkeye is not as tense as before. At least they can nod politely after meeting. The boring days did not last too long. With the continuous deepening of research, the energy of the cosmic cube began to become unstable, and even emitted a beam of energy without any stimulation. And after the energy was emitted, it continued to rise, reaching an energy level that was enough to destroy the entire base within a few hours. The researchers and Dr. Selvig tried many methods, but they could not shut it down. Unplugging the power supply was a joke, because the cosmic cube itself could provide energy. Finally, Fury, who found that things were not going well, directly issued an order for everyone to evacuate. There can be no hesitation at this time, even if it is a false alarm. Tens of thousands of people in the entire base cannot be buried together. Because of the importance of the cosmic cube, Fury also rushed to the scene in person. After sending Hill and his henchman Coulson to coordinate the evacuation of equipment and personnel, Fury came to the underground laboratory. Dr. Selvig, what's the situation? Selvig walked to Fury and explained helplessly, the cosmic cube is playing tricks. Are you kidding? Fury's face was a little dark. Well, a very dark one. Selvig shrugged. The cosmic cube has started to move on its own, and it is an energy source itself. If we cut off the power supply, it will turn on again. If it reaches its peak energy level, the consequences will be disastrous. Fury was puzzled. Aren't all we do to utilize the energy from the universe, Doctor? Selvig wanted to say yes, but the truth was that they had no effective means of utilization at all, and it was just a guess. After leaving Selvig, Fury found Lazia. How is it? Have you found any problems? Lazia replied, openly or secretly. Fury's eyes lit up. What do you say about the open, and what about the secret? On the open, everyone has no problems. The problem lies with the cosmic cube. It seems that someone on the other side of the door is controlling him to open the door to the other end of the universe. Lazia said slowly. What about secretly? Fury asked. Lazia glanced at Eric and said in a deep voice, the enemy has a magical ability to control people's hearts. Let your people be on guard. Thank you for the reward from first money spending in 15 years. Chapter 169 Unexpected Enemy. While the two were talking, the energy of the cosmic cube began to surge again, and the entire base felt a noticeable vibration. Black Widow and Hawkeye, who were observing from a distance, also ran over, stood behind Fury and Lazia, and looked at the flashing cosmic cube with serious expressions. Anyone with a discerning eye could see that something serious was going to happen. Finally, the energy of the cosmic cube climbed to an extremely high intensity, and the surrounding blue light all gathered together and sprayed a beam of light forward. At the end of the beam of light, it bloomed into a light curtain, and in the light curtain, a bright starry sky could be vaguely seen. Obviously, this is a door. Boom. The beam of light stopped, and the light curtain exploded and converged along the wall to the circular ceiling. Under the blue light, a figure slowly emerged. The man had a strange smile on his face, and his half-crouching body slowly stood up, holding a strangely shaped spear in his hand that flashed the same strange blue light as the cosmic cube. Facing this sudden uninvited guest, the armed soldiers who were waiting in full battle array immediately pointed their guns at him. As the highest officer here, Fury spoke as a matter of course, and used the common police phrase, "Sir, please put down your spear, we will ensure your personal safety." The person who came was naturally Loki, who had traveled across the universe, carrying the ancient knowledge of Professor Thanos and the scepter inlaid with the Mind Stone, to conquer the Earth. When Loki appeared, Lazia's figure was blocked behind him by Fury. Loki, who did not notice Lazia the first time, did not hesitate to activate the spear in his hand, and a blue light shot towards Fury. "Be careful." Black Widow next to him quickly pushed Fury out, and at the same time exposed Lazia behind Fury. At the same time, Hawkeye also rushed towards Lazia without hesitation. He knew that Lazia was very good at fighting, and doing so was just a subconscious behavior, but he missed. At this time, the blue beam of light had already hit, and a silver-purple figure appeared in front of everyone. The blue light hit Lazia with a bang, causing a violent explosion and pushing Lazia's body back several steps. Da. The soldiers' guns began to pour out bullets, and the barrage of bullets hit Loki, causing sparks to burst out. According to Loki's expectation, after he came here, he would first rely on his physical fitness far superior to that of the Earthlings to kill a lot of people, and then control a group of puppets and take the cosmic cube away. But he didn't expect that a familiar figure blocked his attack, which made his movements pause. "Why are you here?" Loki looked at Lazia in surprise, who used his shield to block the attack of the Mind Scepter, letting the bullets spark on his body. "Let them stop." Hearing Lazia's words, Fury hurriedly asked the soldiers to stop shooting and retreat. Lazia stroked the shield with his fingers with some distress. There was a crack on the shield caused by the previous attack. "How about it? Are you surprised to see me here?" Lazia looked up at Loki with a gloomy face. "This is a thoughtful gift, I accept it. I haven't thanked you for the tin can you gave me last time. This time I will return it to you." In the battle in the suburbs of New York City, Loki sent 3 destroyers to appear one after another. If Thor hadn't recovered his divine power in time, Lazia would have been dead. Even so, he lost half of his life and killed the giant saint. "Oh, if you didn't say it, I would have forgotten it." Loki chuckled. "I was really surprised that you were able to survive last time, but this time, you will definitely not be so lucky." Everyone can talk big. Lazia rushed forward and almost instantly stuck in front of Loki. "I just don't know if you have the ability." The flashing fist swung and punched Loki in the face. With the physical fitness shown by Loki in the movie, I'm afraid he can't avoid the sonic punch at such a close distance. I wonder if the face that made countless young women lick his ass will still be liked by so many people after it was beaten up. Whoosh! The fist went straight through Loki's figure. As a magician hero, Loki might not be fast, but he didn't need to use his own speed to get rid of the enemy. The combination of clones and illusions often has a very good effect, and Thor's countless experience of being fooled speaks for this. This is not the first time Lazia has dealt with Loki. Whether it is the previous contact or the plot in the movie, he knows Loki's ability. So from the beginning, his small universe perception has been turned on, just to prevent himself from being fooled like Thor. Sure enough, Loki used his trick. The blow hit the air. Lazia did not doubt or hesitate, and directly raised the shield above his head, then jumped up at a very fast speed, with his fist ready to go. Loki's figure appeared in the air, and the scepter in his hand directly hit down with a blue light. But Lazia ignored it, and jumped to a position almost close to the ceiling, and punched into the air. Puff! A figure was beaten out of the void, and Loki curled his lips and spat out a mouthful of old blood. "I've been annoyed by your face for a long time. Do you like pig kidneys or shoe horns? Today, I'll beat you into a real slant god." Lazia twisted in the air and looked at the swelling on Loki's face with ridicule. "It doesn't matter if he is handsome. When he gets old, he will become Zhao Ben-Shan." Daniel Wu and Edison Chen can't escape. From the perspective of the microcosm, Loki's illusion is not very useful. His body is like a high-power light bulb. It's hard for people not to notice it. Loki touched the corner of his mouth lightly with his hand, looked at the blood on his hand and laughed. "You are the first mortal who hurt me, but strangely, I am not surprised." Lizaya smiled. "There is no need to be surprised. You will learn to get used to it in the future." "Really?" Loki nodded. "I just don't know who the person to learn to get used to is." As soon as Loki finished speaking, Lizaya suddenly felt a powerful microcosm appear behind him. "Damn it!" Lizaya was shocked. Didn't Loki say he would come alone? Why did he bring helpers? This was not in line with the rules. Before Lizaya could turn around, he felt a huge force hitting his back hard. His body instantly turned into a cannonball and smashed into the ground. Boom! 2 deep pits were stepped on the ground. Fortunately, Lizaya adjusted his body in time in the air and landed on his feet, so he didn't fall to the ground in an awkward position. Standing in a deep pit that was cracked like a spider web, Lizaya looked up and saw a huge figure over 3 meters tall slowly falling with Loki. The blue light on the ceiling was still flickering, wiping the blood from the corner of his mouth. Lizaya sighed. "Those blue lights that haven't dispersed yet, I thought it was some kind of light scattering or diffraction phenomenon. It turns out that the space gate is not completely closed." "Well, I really didn't expect you to bring helpers." Loki almost lost his balance after landing. Fortunately the scepter in his hand supported the ground. "Knowing that you exist on Earth, how could I not prepare in advance? You even defeated 2 destroyers." "Introduce me." Loki raised his hand and pointed at the big guy next to him. "Black Dwarf, son of Thanos, the Terminator of the Earth." If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 170 Classic Combination. Black Dwarf is the big guy who invaded the Earth as a pioneer in Avengers 3 inches. He fought a battle with Iron Man, Doctor Strange and others in New York. In the end, he was sent to Antarctica by the Sorcerer King through a portal, and a part of his arm was cut off by the portal. Judging from the performance in the movie, Black Dwarf seems to be a stupid, big, black and rough man who can only rely on brute force and a deformable weapon. The final end is also miserable. He was sent to the sky by Banner to rub against the protective shield of Wakanda, 1 step and 2 steps like claws, and finally exploded into a soy sauce flower. But it was this rough man who made Iron Man look shabby, and Bruce Banner, who was wearing the anti-Hulk armor, was almost torn apart. Banner just won because of his online IQ. If he really competed with his strength, only Hulk could block the brute force attack of Black Dwarf. Now, Black Dwarf is not fighting alone. Loki, the god of trickery, has become his teammate. One of them is a power type and the other is a wisdom type. One is a warrior and the other is a mage. It is simply a classic duo combination, and the team battle ability has increased sharply. Frankly speaking, if the mage Ebony Maw did not fight alone with Black Dwarf, but the two cooperated, Iron Man and Doctor might have to kneel at that time. Seeing the huge Black Dwarf appear, the soldiers raised their guns again, and even Hawkeye and Black Widow each picked up their weapons. "Do you know them?" Fury, who was not far from Lizaya, asked in a deep voice. One of these 2 people looked like a non-traditional Earthling, and the other was holding a weapon that was not a traditional Earthling. In the face of such people, only by figuring out their origins and abilities can SHIELD and the Earth make a reasonable response plan. Lizaya nodded. "I know him very well. He is the evil god Loki." "Don't doubt it. He is the evil god Loki that flashed through your mind, the younger brother of Thor." "Tony, you can't be unaware of him. He caused such a big fuss in New York." "You mean, they are really gods?" Fury began to doubt his own understanding a little. Lizaya nodded. "In a sense, for us Earthlings, he is God. You don't have to get involved. Evacuate quickly according to the original plan. Leave this to me." Fury thought about it and nodded in agreement. After all, he was still responsible for the lives of tens of thousands of people who were evacuating from the base. But before leaving, he still had a question he couldn't figure out. Why did they come to Earth? "We have nothing to do with them." Loki in the distance chuckled. Ants have never provoked boots. Fury looked at Lazian. Does this god mean that he wants to trample us to death? Loki said loudly. To be precise, I'm here to rescue you. I'm here to help you get rid of it. And the way is to end your freedom. Freedom is a big scam in life. If you admit this, your life will be peaceful. Ignoring Loki's shouting, Fury still looked at Lazian. What does he mean? Lazian shook his head. With your IQ, you didn't even understand what he said. So there are only two results. Either you are sick or he is sick. So what do you think? Lazian turned around. Who has a higher chance of being sick? Fury nodded without hesitation. Kill this psychopath. I believe you can do it. It's a must. Lazian turned back and stared at Black Dwarf and Loki with burning eyes. His life has been too comfortable recently, and the fighting gene in his body has become a little thirsty. Fury wanted to go over to get the Rubik's Cube, but Lazian stopped him. You guys retreat first. If I can win, I will naturally take the Rubik's Cube out. If I can't win, you can't take it away even if you want to. Although he was very dissatisfied in his heart, Fury had to admit that what Lazian said made sense. Against these two non-Earth humans, S.H.I.E.L.D. was naturally at a disadvantage, and even Widow and Hawkeye couldn't help much. You guys retreat first, I'll help contain them. Barton didn't quite see his position clearly, or he knew that he couldn't play any role, but he wanted to stay with the belief that he would die. However, he didn't know that his existence itself was a safety hazard to Lazian. Loki held the Mind Scepter in his hand. If he was not careful, he could control Barton and turn this help into a resistance for Lazian. Let's go. Let's go. Lazian paused and rushed towards Black Widow. Before she reached Black Widow, she had already swung her fist and hit the air in front of her. Boom. A punch filled with the energy of the small universe hit a golden scepter handle. Loki's figure was knocked out of the air by Lazian and was caught by Black Dwarf in midair. Black Dwarf, who caught Loki, threw the pickaxe-like weapon in his hand far away to Lazian without any pause. The weapon turned into a huge claw in the air, with a long chain behind it. As long as Lazian was caught by the claw, he would not be able to avoid the tearing of Black Dwarf. Lazian raised her left hand towards the flying claw, and bang! A golden crystal wall appeared and blocked the claw. The impact of the claw was not enough to damage the crystal wall. After the claws hit the wall, they were ejected into ashes. Lazian was not polite and raised her hand to fire a Lashan longbow. It's impolite not to return the favor. This is my gift. Ouch! The dragon roared out, and Black Dwarf grabbed the claws that flew back and quickly transformed them into a round shield in his hand, blocking the position where the dragon was attacking. With a bang, Black Dwarf flew out and hit the concrete wall behind him, shaking the entire laboratory. Don't stay here and make trouble. Let's go. At the critical moment, Fury decisively issued an evacuation order. At this level of battle, they couldn't intervene. Nat, you cover them to retreat. I'll stay here. At the exit, Barton raised his longbow and aimed the arrow at the smoke and dust caused by the collision of Black Dwarf. When he found that he was not dead, he shot him with an arrow. Black Widow also knew that this was not the time to be shy. She nodded and decisively escorted Fury to escape. Several soldiers with guns followed closely behind, but only one person stood in the distance and did not catch up. Dr. Eric Selvig. Since Loki appeared, his expression was a little wrong, and now he felt like his legs were filled with lead, and he couldn't move. A scepter stretched out from the air and gently touched Selvig's body, and the blue light penetrated into his body from the tip of the scepter. Selvig's eyeballs instantly turned completely black, then turned blue, and finally his expression became docile. Loki got, puppet, Eric Selvig X1. After Barton discovered the situation here, he tilted the arrow in his hand and shot it over here, but the arrow pierced Loki's body and passed through his body. But Loki had already appeared in front of Barton in a flash, and got the second puppet Hawkeye in the same way. Lazian stared at the Black Dwarf in the smoke and ignored what was happening. Loki's team still needs to be formed, otherwise who will build a space gate to let the aliens in? Caught up. Chapter 171 Fancy beating. Except for a few who were controlled by the Mind Scepter, all the other S.H.I.E.L.D. team members had evacuated from the underground laboratory. The evacuation of the entire base was still in progress. The personnel and equipment had been loaded into the vehicles and were being evacuated in a tense and orderly manner. In the underground laboratory, Dr. Selvig, who was controlled by Loki, also walked to the instrument on the side to check the monitoring values. The blue light on the ceiling had not completely dissipated. At this time, it was like the steam of boiling water mixed together, and it seemed that there was a danger of explosion at any time. The portal is collapsing on its own, and it will reach the critical point in 2 minutes. After checking the instrument, Dr. Selvig turned around and said, "It seems that we have to hurry up and evacuate." Barton also walked to Loki's side, holding the longbow in his hand, and looking at Lazai in the distance with vigilance. Loki leaned on his staff and pointed at Lazai in the distance with his chin. "There are 2 minutes left before this place collapses. Do you want to be their scapegoat?" Lazai waved her hand. "You guys can leave. Just leave that big guy to me." He didn't think of stopping Loki from leaving. The Earth needed to experience an alien invasion to better understand its position in the universe. Moreover, although the Chitauri were weak in combat, their technology was very advanced, especially the Mantis shrimp airship. If the power system could be studied clearly, the Earth would completely say goodbye to the era of traffic jams. In fact, what Lazai hoped most was to capture a Chitauri spaceship, which had a huge amount of high-tech. The Earth needed good neighbors in the universe like the Chitauri who were generous enough to send corpses and equipment. After listening to Lazai's words, Loki gave up the Black Dwarf without any hesitation. Anyway, the purpose of bringing the Black Dwarf to the Earth was to let him hold Lazai back. Now that Loki's goal has been achieved, the Black Dwarf as a tool has naturally lost its value. Loki would not risk his life to save other people's men. With less than 2 minutes left, it would be better to run away with people and things. Dr. Selvig stepped forward to take down the cosmic cube and put it in a suitcase, and then left the underground laboratory under the leadership of Barton. Lazai did not stop him, and his eyes always stayed on the Black Dwarf who climbed up from the smoke. Lazai's attitude towards the Black Dwarf was naturally different from Loki's. Loki wanted to rule the Earth so that he could challenge Odin and Thor. So although he also regarded the Earthlings as ants, he would not kill innocent people in principle. Well, it shouldn't happen, otherwise how could he whitewash himself later? More importantly, his goal would not succeed. Apart from anything else, Thor, who was as obsessed with his brother as Iki, would not watch him walk on a road of no return as a villain. It was only a matter of time before he came to disrupt the situation. Black Dwarf was different. His brain was relatively simple, although it seemed easier to control. But he didn't appear so early in the movie, so Lazai couldn't figure out the purpose of his sudden visit to Earth. After all, he was Thanos' subordinate, who knew if he was pretending to be stupid, acting as Loki's thug on the surface, but collecting first-hand information about the Earth and sending back some information that was unfavorable to the Earth to Thanos behind the scenes. What if Thanos came to Earth early? The Avengers haven't been formed yet. Black Dwarf walked out of the ruins holding the weapon that had turned into a pickaxe again. He ignored the energy gathering above his head, smashed the pickaxe on the ground, and rushed towards Lazai. This big guy had thick skin and flesh, and it was unknown what material the transformable weapon in his hand was made of. After blocking Lazai's Lashan Longba, he seemed to be fine. In the movie, he used a shield to fight against Iron Man's floating gun and laser attack. But then again, since the dwarves can create artifacts like Thor's hammer and Stormbreaker, it is not impossible for Thanos to find someone to create a few pieces of equipment that are no less than the quality of the holy clothes. After all, the holy garment is just an alchemy product of the alchemists on Mu continent. But it doesn't matter. 2 minutes is enough to do a lot of things. For example, the meteor punch can be fired hundreds of times a second, and tens of thousands of times in 2 minutes. If one shot of Shenlongri can't break your shield, then try another one to see how long your shield can last. Phoenix wings flying, the King Ming Fire Phoenix roared out, and the Black Dwarf was hit by the Fire Phoenix halfway through his run. Although the Fire Phoenix failed to break the shield, the intense heat burned the shield red. Even though the Black Dwarf had thick skin and flesh, he was burned by the heat of thousands of degrees. But he didn't plan to give up the shield. With a pull of his hand, the shield quickly turned into a large claw with a long chain. The front part of the claw was still red hot, and he was rounded and ready to throw it at Lazai. A few white snowflakes suddenly appeared in the air. Whether in this underground laboratory 100 meters deep or on the ground at this time, it shouldn't snow in this season. Before Black Dwarf could figure out the reason for the snowflakes, he found that the temperature around him dropped rapidly. It soon dropped below 0 degrees, and it kept dropping all the way. Almost in an instant, the temperature in the air dropped below -100 degrees, and it still didn't stop. Everything around him quickly climbed up a layer of frost, especially the claws on Black Dwarf's hands, which were wrapped in a layer of crystal-clear ice. Diamond Star. Ice Attribute Attack. It is easy to simulate a seemingly diamond star with the innate attack of the giant Duke Saint Cloth. What will happen if the metal is heated first and then suddenly cooled? Black Dwarf didn't have time to think about it, and he subconsciously threw the claws on his hands with his numb arms. Pegasus Meteor Fist. The fist shadows in the sky shot out in an arc. Lazai was like a juggler, showing off all his unique skills. In a dazzling array of light and shadow effects, the claws flying in the air suddenly exploded into pieces with a bang. That's all. Lazai clapped his hands and called it a day. The Saint Seiya's ability to destroy atoms seems to be an almost invincible bug, but it is repeatedly suppressed in front of the cosmic visitors with many unknown elements and strange forging techniques. Fortunately, Lazai is not a cockroach-like character who can do everything with one trick. He doesn't have to be beaten half to death every time he encounters equipment that cannot be destroyed before he can explode and kill. After possessing multiple attributes and being trained by several gold saints, Lazai can flexibly target different enemies and use different attack methods. Although it may seem a bit miscellaneous, it is not easy to be targeted. After the Black Dwarf swung out his claws, his body was numb from the freezing cold. Then the ice layer quickly crawled over his body and wrapped him up completely. At this time, the temperature around him had dropped to about -150 degrees Celsius, which was dozens of degrees lower than the South Pole. Chapter 172 Plan starts. Less than a minute had passed, and the blue light on the ceiling was still surging, ready to explode at any time. Although Black Dwarf was an enemy, Lazai would not watch him turn into an ice sculpture and leave him here to die. He raised his hand and gathered the cold air, and a 2-meter-thick icicle lifted Black Dwarf from the ground. The icicle rose until it was close to the ceiling, and then stopped when it pushed Black Dwarf's body into the blue light. Lazai gathered the broken weapon debris on the ground and turned it into an ice ball, holding it in his hand. He did not look at the ice sculpture on the icicle again, but closed his eyes and left the underground laboratory. He said he would not watch Black Dwarf die, and he would never open his eyes to watch. In the underground passage, Hill was driving a military jeep and chasing a pickup truck frantically. Both the jeep and the pickup truck were turned into sports cars. 1 minute ago, Hill, who was arranging the evacuation, noticed that Barton and others who left in a hurry were acting strangely, and there was also a performance artist like Loki in the team that she had never seen before. So she decisively launched an attack, and when the attack failed, she drove to chase them. The driver of the pickup truck was Barton, who was controlled, and Loki sat in the back seat of the pickup truck as a turret, with the scepter in his hand constantly emitting dynamic blue light waves backwards. During the chase, Hill fired at Loki. As a former agent, Hill had superb driving skills and superb shooting ability, but her pistol was no match for the energy attack of the Mind Scepter. An energy shock hit the side of the jeep, and the tires and axles exploded directly. The car tilted and hit the wall. Hill jumped out of the car and shot at the pickup truck, but the opponent quickly disappeared from her sight. At this moment, the underground space door finally collapsed completely, and the energy released was like a large yield bomb detonating underground. The underground laboratory was instantly blown into ruins, and the vibrations generated by the explosion continued to spread outward, and the earth trembled violently like a bubble jumping out of the water. As the vibrations spread, a large area of the underground passage began to collapse, and the collapse soon extended to Hill's position. She turned around and ran out with all her strength, but how could she outrun the shock wave? In a blink of an eye, the vibrations caught up with her, and the ground under her feet began to tremble. Hill's feet tilted and she fell to the ground. This fall, her life in her 20s would end here. Her body tilted, and the imagined collision did not occur, but a pair of strong arms appeared and picked up her body by the waist. "Madam, do you need a toilet?" A familiar voice sounded in her ears, and before Hill could speak, her body suddenly turned into a gust of wind and shuttled through the passage. The strong wind blew in her face so hard that she couldn't open her eyes. The sound of the wind was blasting in her ears. In panic, she was like a drowning person who saw a life-saving wooden stake. Her hands were like an octopus, and she slowly adjusted her body as she moved. Finally, she coiled her whole body around the man. I have said so many words, but in fact, everything happened very quickly. After Hill adjusted his posture, he found that he had left the underground passage and was floating in the air. There was a roar of a helicopter next to him. Hill turned his head and saw Liu Dan and Black Widow sitting on the plane, looking at this side with strange eyes. Liu Ziyan, who was coiled by Hill, smiled and nodded to Fury and Black Widow, and held Hill's butt with both hands to prevent her from falling from the air. As a matter of conscience, Liu Ziyan's actions were absolutely gentlemanly, but sometimes, the body's natural reaction can make people embarrassed. Hill, who is 1.75 meters tall, has a smaller chest burden than Black Widow, but her long legs are even more slender and straight than Black Widow's. She looks sexy in her agent uniform. Before they could speak, they were attracted by the rumbling sound of the ground under their feet. The entire base bulged slightly and then fell down suddenly, with a deep pit with a diameter of hundreds of meters in the middle. A car jumped out of the underground passage to avoid the explosion. Hill was surprised to find that the car was the pickup truck driven by Patton. She was obviously left behind, but she got out of the underground passage earlier than the pickup truck. Liu Ziyan hugged Hill and slipped into the helicopter. Although the space inside was not large, Hill could not always stay on Liu Ziyan, so she was pulled down by Black Widow with a somewhat unhappy look on her face. What happened? Fury glanced at Loki behind the pickup truck. Black Dwarf didn't seem to be in the car. He turned to ask Liu Ziyan, "Where's the cube?" Liu Ziyan shrugged and spread his hands. The cube was taken away by them. Fury was about to order the pilot to intercept the pickup truck, but was stopped by Liu Ziyan. "It doesn't matter if we give them the cosmic cube. Anyway, we don't know how to use it correctly. Let them show us." Fury naturally wouldn't agree with the statement that they didn't know how to use it. He stiffened his neck and wanted to argue. The cosmic cube is a huge energy body. If it is used improperly, don't worry. Liu Ziyan patted his arm. With the ability of SHIELD, we can find them no matter where they go. And don't you think letting them go is a good thing? Fury stared with one eye and thought for a while. After the lights of the pickup truck gradually disappeared, he silently picked up the walkie-talkie. "Coulson, what's the situation?" "Some people are buried, sir, and the casualties are not yet clear." Coulson's voice came from the opposite side. "The cosmic cube has been stolen. A general order has been issued. All personnel who are not involved in the rescue should go find the box. Let's go back to the base. This is a level 7 incident." After a pause, Fury continued, "From this moment on, the war has begun." Coulson asked in a low voice, "Sir, what do we need to do?" Fury did not reply, but put down the walkie-talkie and looked at Liu Ziyan with one eye. Liu Ziyan nodded. "Since the matter of the cube is no longer here, I will go to New York first." After saying that, he jumped out of the helicopter, his feet stepping into the void. "I asked you when you will go back?" Fury held the door of the helicopter with one hand, stuck his head out and shouted with a gloomy face, "The war has begun. Do you still want to refuse me?" Liu Ziyan waved his hand. "My mind has never changed, but I promise you that when the war comes, I will definitely be where I am needed." From the perspective of the small universe of the Black Dwarf has disappeared, being affected by the explosion at such a close distance. Even if he has a head of steel, he will be blown to pieces. After saying goodbye to Fury, regardless of Fury's charcoal black face, Liu Ziyan turned around, stretched out black wings from behind, and disappeared into the sky with a wave of the wings. Fury retracted his head and said to Black Widow and Hill in the cabin, "Our plan must begin." Chapter 173 Emergency Call. Fury went to gather the Avengers. As for whether his method was bribery, deception, persuasion or seduction, Liu Ziyan didn't care. Taking advantage of the night, he went back to New York. Life in New York was the same as before. On days when he didn't have to be a superhero, Zodiac decided to go to Empire State University to take a few classes and earn some credits. If I remember correctly, he was a special student in the weightlifting program of Empire State University this year. Unfortunately, he went back to China for half a year before the school started. After returning, he went to the Dark Energy Research Base as a bodyguard, so he was still very unfamiliar with this campus. "So, Peter, have you made any new friends during this time?" In the lecture hall, Zodiac was flipping through the completely incomprehensible things in Parker's notes while chatting quietly. What the teacher drew on the blackboard was simply a mystery to him. When he was about to turn to the bottom of the notes, Zodiac found a serious problem. If he couldn't buy credits with money, he probably wouldn't get the university diploma. To be honest, not every Chinese student overseas is a top student. There are many people like Zodiac who take money to study in college. It doesn't matter what you learn, it's enough to scare people. After returning home, Parker took back his notebook and continued to write and draw on it. "I'm so busy every day that I don't have time to make friends. If you have nothing to do at night, come out with us." As the initiator of the organization, you haven't participated in group activities for a long time. Initiator of the organization? What organization? Zodiac was stunned for a moment, and then he remembered that he was the boss of the Zodiac Guardian and managed several good people. Haha. Since verbally establishing the Zodiac Guardian organization, Zodiac led and organized a limited number of anti-crime activities in the city. After that, he let the organization go, allowing it to grow wildly under the leadership of Parker and Max. So much so that when Parker mentioned it to him, he didn't even react at the first time. As a member of a team, you need to do some activities together. No matter what, necessary team building is still necessary. Okay, no problem, Zodiac smiled and responded, since it was okay. Then she leaned over the table and picked up the textbook and started flipping through it. "Where did the teacher say that?" Parker glanced at Zodiac and sighed helplessly. "This class is material and solid mechanics strength. What do you want to do with the vibration control theory and control engineering?" "That's the textbook for my next class, and you don't learn these in your major." Zodiac's mouth trembled. "Then what do we learn in our major?" Parker almost went crazy. "I'm not a weightlifter. How would I know?" Bang bang, the teacher knocked on the desk. "It's not time for free discussion yet. Students in the back row, please pay attention, or if you have any brilliant ideas that you want to express in advance, I can give you this seat." The students turned their heads to look at them, and Zodiac quietly lowered herself, trying to pretend that she was air. 5 minutes later, Zodiac poked Parker with her finger and handed him a note. "In the third row, is the girl with short hair Chinese? What's her name?" After a while, Parker handed the note back. "Wang Bingbing, a Chinese student. I'll introduce you to her later." Zodiac was shocked. Parker actually said that he would introduce her to a Chinese female student. "Didn't you? A hypocritical guy. Just say that you didn't have time to make friends. How come you got to know a foreign student, and a beautiful one at that?" Could it be that this guy did it behind Jessica's back? Parker turned his head slightly and gave her a look. After finally waiting for the get out of class to end, Parker took Zodiac to the front row. When passing the third row, he said to Wang Bingbing, who was packing up, "Ada, do you have a date later? Do you want to have lunch together?" Wang Bingbing raised her head, smiled and nodded at Zodiac, then joked, "Are you inviting me on a date? I don't want to be beaten by Jessica. You know how strong she is." Parker smiled and shrugged. "Jessie too. By the way, let me introduce you to a friend, Zodiac. She's of Chinese descent and speaks fluent Mandarin." Parker said the last sentence in Chinese. After dating Zodiac for so long, he had learned a lot of Mandarin imperceptibly. Although he still had a bit of an American accent, he was fluent. He couldn't compare with Mike Sui, who could speak more than a dozen Chinese dialects, but he was definitely better than Zazao. "Hello, classmate Zodiac." Wang Bingbing smiled and extended her hand to Zodiac. "Nice to meet you. I'm an international student from China. My hometown is Lushan, Jiujiang. You can call me by my English name, Ada." "Nice to meet you, classmate Ada. I don't have an English name. Just call me Zodiac." Zodiac smiled and shook hands with Wang Bingbing. feeling a little emotional. This short-haired Wang Bingbing looks very much like the Bingbing of Li Lianhua. If it weren't for the collagen on her face and her age being a dozen years younger than sister Lianhua, Zodiac could really make a mistake. However, when Wang Bingbing shook hands with her, he gently scratched Zodiac's palm with his little finger. It was not known whether it was intentional or unintentional. The three of them were talking and laughing and preparing to go to the cafeteria, but Zodiac's cell phone suddenly rang. "Where are you?" The voice on the other end of the phone was suppressed and distorted, as if trying to suppress something. Zodiac took down the phone and checked to make sure it was Gwen calling. "I'm in school." "What happened?" "Come back quickly, to the company laboratory," Gwen said and hung up the phone. Zodiac was confused. Why did she have a vague premonition of something bad happening? Gwen's tone and intonation were a little too weird. "What's the matter?" Parker asked beside her. "I don't know. It seems urgent." "You guys go eat first. I'll go back and take a look," Zodiac said and ran to the toilet. Jessica pulled Parker's hand. "Zodiac's in a hurry. Why do you want to go to the toilet first?" Parker frowned and shook his head. "I'm not sure either. I suddenly remembered that there was something urgent." "You guys go eat. I'll go first. The door is in that direction." Looking at Parker running towards the school wall, Wang Bingbing felt that the minds of these new friends seemed to be not in harmony. "Are they really in a hurry?" Jessica shrugged. "Maybe." "I don't know why." "By the way," Wang Bingbing sighed, "if you have something urgent to do, go ahead. I know the way to the cafeteria." Jessica shook her head. "I mean, I haven't seen Gwen for a long time. I don't know what happened. I have time at noon, so why not go see her?" Glancing at Wang Bingbing, Jessica asked, "Do you want to come with me?" After Zodiac quickly ran into the toilet, he found a cubicle, closed the door, pressed the toilet flush button, and teleported into the air. Then he rushed towards the company at full speed. With his current telekinesis, the maximum distance he could teleport was only a few hundred meters, and there was no way to teleport directly to the company. Flying at full speed at 2 Mach speeds, he flew to the top of the company building in a few minutes. He used his small universe to feel that Gwen was in the laboratory downstairs, and her state seemed to be a little excited. Flying downstairs, Zodiac stretched out his hand and pushed open the door of the laboratory. As soon as the door opened, a figure in a white coat appeared in front of him, holding a thing about 5 or 6 centimeters thick and several dozen centimeters long, and pointed it at Zodiac's face. Bang! Zodiac was sprayed in the face. "Thank you for the reward. Thank you for your subscription support. If the average subscription can exceed 1,000, I will feel very awesome. Please continue to support and encourage. Thank you." Chapter 174 The Miracle Medicine Comes into Being. Subscription request. For no reason, someone sprayed a long object on your face with white foam. No matter who you are, you would feel a little unhappy, but Zodiac couldn't get angry, and had to greet him with a smile, because that person was his god of wealth, Dr. Connors. "Wow, oh, yeah." After Zodiac was sprayed, the whole laboratory burst into cheers. Dr. Connors held a bottle of champagne in both hands and kept spraying liquid and foam around. Gwen rushed over from the side and pounced on Zodiac. "Zodiac, we succeeded." In such an exciting moment, nothing can be more appropriate than a long kiss. After a 2-minute French kiss mixed with champagne and saliva, Gwen blushed and grabbed Zodiac's hand, which was about to go down subconsciously. "Let's talk about it tonight. Don't make a scene. Everyone is watching." Zodiac awkwardly withdrew her hand and stroked her wet hair. "I can't help it." "Was the human experiment successful?" "Yeah." Gwen grinned and pointed at Dr. Connors, who was holding a glass of champagne and smiling like a child in his 50s. His right hand had grown back. Although the new skin was a little different in color from the original one, it was very real, unlike the previous one, which had a strong silicone texture, just like a doll from a certain country. Gwen, who was hanging on Zodiac's neck, felt a little soft under his warm breath. She explained with a red face, "The doctor injected the reagent yesterday. We closely observed it for a day. There was no rejection reaction, and the lizard gene did not run away. Everything was normal. So that means we have created a human regeneration potion that will not turn into a lizard?" Yeah, Gwen nodded fiercely. A thought suddenly popped up in Lazia's heart. I'm going to get rich. Forgive Lazia for thinking of money at the first moment, instead of some saintly idea of benefiting society, because in this world, if you want to benefit society, you must first have money. Only those who are rich and powerful can benefit the world, while those who are poor and powerless can only be guilty of possessing the treasure. Although Lazia doesn't care about anyone's covetousness, he doesn't want to cause trouble for himself for no reason. Gwen, Lazia shouted excitedly, and Gwen turned her head. What? Parker finally rushed over on the swing. As soon as he entered the door, he saw Lazia and Gwen standing in the crowd kissing, surrounded by a group of revelers, and Dr. Connors was spraying champagne everywhere like crazy. The scene was like, "Are you two going to get married?" Lazia almost choked on her saliva. Parker's imagination was extremely biased. What kind of marriage? I'm still a child, doctor. Soon, Parker also noticed the abnormality of Dr. Connors, and finally figured out the reason why everyone was cheering. As the doctor's part-time assistant and the son of his best friend, he naturally joined the revelry team. It was natural to celebrate. The company was big enough, so Lazia called a party company to send a lot of drinks, dishes and snacks. A party was held in the activity room on the second floor of the company, and a high bonus was given to everyone who participated in the experiment. The most excited person at the party, besides Dr. Connors, was Harry. The good news that the potion was successful was naturally to be notified to Harry. After hearing this, he immediately drove a helicopter over, borne all the expenses of the party, and added more than double the order. Rich people are willful. By the way, Felicia no longer works at the Holy Grail Company, but resigned to go to school. Now she is a schoolmate of Lazia and Parker. I heard from Parker that a boy has been pursuing her recently. I don't know why Lazia always felt a little uncomfortable when she heard this news. Harry, who loves combing his hair, traveling and sleeping with supermodels, had no interest in the crazy bees and butterflies who came to his door just for a shot at the party. His eyes followed Dr. Connors throughout the whole process. Or rather, it was the arm that Dr. Connors had just reborn, as if it was a long-lost Kylan arm, and if he cut it off and put it on himself, he would gain peerless magic. Dr. Connors felt a chill in his buttocks throughout the whole scene, and had a strong sense of uneasiness. In fact, it was not Harry's fault that he was too anxious, since he learned that Lazia's company could produce biological drugs to help him treat his family disease and paid $100 million in advance. Harry has been living in expectation and anxiety. He is still young, less than 20 years old, with the best body and huge wealth. He really doesn't want to be like his father Norman Osborn, who lingered in a room without light and finally died painfully like a monster in the strange eyes of others. In the past 6 months, he has been fighting against the genetic disease in his body while scheming against the old people in the company who want to drive him out of the chairman's seat. If it weren't for Parker's constant care and encouragement, I'm afraid his mentality would have exploded long ago. Because of Lazia, Harry did not regard Spider-Man as his only lifeline, so the relationship between him and Parker did not deteriorate as sharply as in the movie, and finally reached an irreconcilable situation. No matter from which angle, they are now very good friends. Well, Harry's girlfriend Mary Jane Watson also has a good relationship with Parker. The day after the party, the God's Blood series of reagents manufactured by the Holy Grail Company skipped the patent registration link and quietly began to be used in commercial channels. The first user was naturally Harry, who could not wait any longer. Fortunately, when Gwen and the others first cultivated lizards, they used Dr. Connors and Harry's genes to cultivate 2 batches of lizards at the same time, so Harry did not have to wait any longer. When the reagents were injected, Lazia and Parker were both outside the laboratory, watching the situation inside through the huge glass window. The two were very nervous, because the reagents injected by Harry and Dr. Connors were somewhat different. Lazia was not very clear about how to cultivate and extract the serum reagents. He only knew that different results would be obtained after injecting the 2 serums. One is just a simple restoration of broken limbs, which will not have much impact on a person's physical fitness. The other is that it can greatly improve a person's physical fitness and at the same time acquire some of the skills and habits of a lizard. However, due to the immaturity of the technology, the improvement in physical fitness is limited, and there is no way to reach the strength of Spider-Man. It can only be regarded as a low-end version. After all, Dr. Connors is not Richard Parker, and this is the limit of what he can do. Because of the painful experience of turning into a lizard before, Dr. Connors decisively chose the first one. As long as he could grow his arms back, he didn't ask for anything else. Harry chose the second one. Young people all have a superhero dream, and Harry is no exception. If there is such an opportunity, why not seize it? It only takes one injection to cure the disease and become stronger, which is simple and convenient. What does it feel like to have an average subscription of 1,500 in my lifetime? Chapter 175 Scene Reappearance. Please subscribe. Outside the laboratory, several girls were chatting together. The research work on serum reagents has been basically completed, and Gwen finally had time to rest. Don't you have to go in to help? Jessica took a sip of a small teacup in her hand. The cup was filled with light green tea, and the tea aroma was thick. Gwen shook her head and looked at the girl who was making tea opposite. It's enough to have a doctor watching inside. It doesn't matter who does the data recording. There was a complete set of kung fu tea sets on the table. Wang Bingbing was brewing tea in an orderly manner, with a calm look on her face. This set of tea sets was bought by Lizia from Chinatown to show off. Usually, except for himself, basically no one would use it. Lo Bing did learn some, but after starting school, she didn't have much time to come. So for a long time, these tea sets were just placed there as decorations, but unexpectedly became a stage for this new friend to show himself. Gwen felt the pressure from Wang Bingbing's appearance. Lizia had expressed her appreciation for Oriental women in front of her more than once, and Wang Bingbing's appearance was very consistent with Lizia's aesthetics. Not only that, Wang Bingbing could actually make kung fu tea, and took the initiative to get into Lizia's small circle, which made Gwen unconsciously feel a sense of crisis. After all, the 18-year-old Gwen was very shrewd, and her thoughts were inadvertently revealed on her face. Although it was not very obvious, Wang Bingbing was keenly aware of it. Handing Gwen a cup of tea, Wang Bingbing smiled and asked, "Ms. Gwen, how did you know Lizia? I can see that he likes you very much." "Of course he likes me very much, you say." Gwen was a little proud in her heart, and then happily told Wang Bingbing about her past with Lizia in high school. "Can you imagine? We were in the same class for more than 3 years in high school, but I didn't even notice that there was such a special student in my class until grade 12, when one time, the class." Gwen began to talk endlessly when she mentioned Lizia. Although it was inconvenient to talk about her own kidnapping and Lizia's sudden appearance, there were still many interesting things to talk about, such as the time when Lizia tortured Steven, a primary school student who was now starting to shine in Golden State, and made him cry in the basketball hall. Gwen was not a stingy person to begin with, and the grudge in her heart gradually faded away as they chatted. With Wang Bingbing's subtle flattery, the two of them soon became good friends who could talk about anything. Compared to the relaxed atmosphere outside, the atmosphere in the laboratory seemed a little tense. Although the lizard from which the serum was extracted was bred with Harry's genes, he still inevitably had some discomfort after the injection. Fever, dizziness, drowsiness, and other symptoms that Parker had experienced that year were repeated in him. Moreover, under Dr. Connorson's monitoring, Harry's vital signs and observation data were constantly fluctuating without any rules. Mutation requires a process. Parker became a god after sleeping on the subway after being bitten. It can only be said that his protagonist aura is too strong. After changing to Harry, Dr. Connors needed to inject various bottles and jars of reagents in real time according to the observation data. It took more than 2 hours for the data to stabilize. After all, Harry is not an ordinary person. His blood genetic disease is much more complicated than Parker's. More than an hour later, Dr. Connors wiped his sweat and walked out of the laboratory accompanied by an assistant. "Basically stable. Harry will wake up soon. Is the champagne ready? We may need another party to celebrate." Lizia smiled and joked, Champagne is fine, but Harry has to organize the party himself. The scale is definitely much more luxurious than the one we had yesterday. After a few people laughed for a while, Parker suddenly said, "Do you have a feeling? We are now like people waiting to witness history in an antique shop in Brooklyn." Unlike Dr. Connors' reagent, Harry's serum reagent can give birth to a superhero with physical fitness comparable to Captain America. During World War II, Captain America injected the super soldier serum into a secret laboratory. The disguised entrance outside was the Brooklyn Antique Store. These are all recorded in Captain America's comic books. I have to say that the scene now is indeed very similar to that time, but Isaiah shook his head. The scene is very similar, but I don't want the result to be the same. Don't forget that just as the captain came down from the laboratory table, Dr. Abraham Erskine was shot and killed, and the super soldier serum was also. Isaiah paused suddenly when she said this. Dr. Abraham Erskine was the inventor of the super soldier serum injected by Captain America. Hydra's undercover agents sneaked into the crowd of spectators and shot Dr. Abraham Erskine as soon as the experiment was successful, and snatched the last super soldier serum. The death of Dr. Abraham Erskine also directly led to the end of the super soldier plan. Captain America was the first successful super soldier and the last one. However, after Captain America was frozen, the Hydra organization did not disintegrate with the death of the Red Skull. Instead, it took deep root in the dark, grew stronger, and even infiltrated all aspects of American society. Whether it is a senator or a key member of S.H.I.E.L.D., there are Hydra figures. Isaiah suddenly thought that since Hydra's ambition has not diminished at all, and its influence in the United States is very wide, is it possible that there are also their people in the Holy Grail Company? After all, Isaiah had not been in the company for more than half a year before, and he was not familiar with many of the newly recruited company employees and scientific researchers. When he began to look at the scientific researchers in the laboratory with a suspicious eye, he suddenly found that the expressions and actions of many of them were very suspicious. And the most suspicious one was the assistant who accompanied Dr. Connors. His expression was too plain. It stands to reason that at such a major historical moment, he should be very happy. This is a great invention that is enough to win the Nobel Prize. "Doctor, is this your new intern? She looks a little unfamiliar. I wonder which university she is from?" Isaiah turned around and asked the assistant with a smile. The assistant's expression was obviously confused for a moment. "I used to be a researcher at the Osborne Group," Dr. Connors explained. "Our experiment needs a lot of help from a lot of people. It's troublesome to train new people, so I just called in some people I had trained before." "Any questions?" Parker asked from the side. Isaiah shook her head. "I don't know. I just feel a little weird." As she was talking, the glass window next to her was suddenly broken, and a palm-sized metal pumpkin rolled in, spinning on the ground. The pumpkin was obviously a technological product, with a red light flashing rapidly on it. "Salute to all the book friends who support genuine books. Thank you, lovely and respectable people." End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.